What it do, niggas?
Yo,
Morning.
morning. What's up?
You made it just in the nick of time, Lorik.
Thanks. I love the announcement.
So proud
You
of
love
you.
being what? You love being what?
Announced. I
Oh.
appreciate it.
Anytime.
It was someone's birthday this week. I think we should acknowledge that as well.
Who?
Do I get the point? There we go. I get the point right. This one right here.
Birthday.
Happy
It's
birthday,
your
Amber.
birthday.
Happy belated, everyone in the chat, super chat. Give Amber some birthday love.
How old are you, Amber?
Yeah,
I
how old
turned
are you?
32.
That too.
Oh my gosh. It's so dramatic.
30.
Apparently,
young.
nobody believes that I'm 32.
You're a
People keep
youngin.
saying that I thought I turned 24. I said, that's insane. I just have a baby
20s
face.
are gone.
Very gone.
The 20s are gone, but you're still young, 30.
Amber, my
That's me. I was just telling my
Back.
friends I have to plan another trip. I love South Carolina so much.
Yeah. South
Where are you
Carolina.
planning your trip to next?
I think I want to go. Dr. Tori was telling me about like a festival they have like in the fall. I think I want to go for that.
Spoleto or something else?
Good question. I don't know. I
What's
was just listening
Spoleto?
to. He told me. He said you need to come this time. I said okay, sure.
What's Spoleto?
I love a festival, so
It's just like a festival that Charleston have every year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's like a I don't even remember some of the themes, but like every some nights, 17 nights, they'll have like a bunch of different art stuff going on downtown. People selling shit.
Nice.
that's cool. Somebody said she said 32. I heard 22. That's insane. I don't look that young. I just have a very strong baby face. But thanks for the birthday love, Maggie and Cynthia. You're so right. That's how I be pulling these niggas. You know, the beauty really does the work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mojo. Oh, Mojo Art.
Can't comment on who we pulling.
Yeah, I wonder where they tell you the festival at, in Charleston or St. Helena?
No, he was talking about St. Helena, and then he said that I just needed to come to Savannah just for the experience. He said, I just want you to come to Savannah so I can take you to some places to learn about more Geechee culture stuff. But that wasn't where the festival was.
Talking about coming to Savannah.
Dr. Torre wanted me to come to Savannah so bad. He said that the entire trip. He said, yeah, because you need to come to Savannah.
Because he be hating on Charleston sometimes. I ain't gonna lie now.
He do. He was hating when we was there.
He also on that Savannah, the real color part that he be on some bullshit sometimes.
That's why he live in Savannah. He was talking about it. Thanks, guys, for the birthday love. My birthday party's tomorrow.
Oh yeah, what are we doing?
My birthday tomorrow.
My birthday tomorrow. I love that TikTok. I posted it too. Me and not me, but the nigga I like, the one who be reading, him and my other two friends planned a birthday party for me. So
That's beautiful. I love how he's the nigga we like. But yes,
Yeah, like.
I mean it's an accurate description. So
Yeah, this is a very accurate description. It's a 2000s theme party. I got a baby fat outfit, and I had a custom jersey dress made.
Oh, very Y2K.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. I'm excited. It's gonna be lit. He's coming to town today to like set up stuff. So they're gonna put up the decorations and stuff, and it's gonna be cool.
That sounds fun. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited. He's gonna bring his dog, who I love. So it's gonna be fun.
Oh, Matt gets to have a play date too.
Yes, he
Oh,
loves his dog. Mac loves his dog. Like they be having the time of their lives. It's so adorable. I said, yeah, go ahead, bring over my son. And his dog likes me more than him, so it's really funny
I see. I see.
because he just runs to me and he just sits his head in my lap and he'll just stay there for hours. It's so adorable.
It senses that you take care of dogs very well.
Well, what I think is when you start the sentence with skip say, and they don't have nothing to do with music,
Yeah.
what we talk about? Like, nigga.
They said, yo,
Skip says, like
They
at that point, if I don't read a bar in the next line, if I don't read a bar in the next
It's
line,
not happening.
don't do Skip
I'm
like
cutting the
that.
comment
Skip
off.
has a lot of great insight. That was just a terrible take.
That's
And
the outside.
He got it off while you weren't there, which was the craziest part.
You let a
I
nigga,
wasn't
let
there
a
either.
nigga in your house, he going crazy. You know what I mean? We ain't gonna let him do that next week. It's okay.
Amber, you were not a part of this because apparently you count as the South. But Skip says Texas doesn't count, which was crazy.
Oh, that's weird.
He said part of Texas don't count. He said Houston area.
I'm ignoring the blasphemy in the comments. Someone's trying to ruin my day. That was incorrect. That whole take was incorrect. Also, what about Georgia? That's crazy. How is Georgia not the South?
Right.
Now here's I ain't gonna start now, but here's how I would, if he was arguing that Georgia was not the South because it's such a red state and it's all white people, and he's calling like the black belt South the South, I would take that. But other than that, because Georgia, I mean, like again, most of Georgia is white as shit. So
sure, but so are lots of areas in the South. That's not how we do this.
Well, not in Mississippi. Not in Mississippi.
Man, that's the blackest state. We can't.
That's what I'm saying. Not in Mississippi. Not in Mississippi. So maybe the man is a little bit delusional. Like,
it was very delusional. I was like, if you don't include North Florida, also all these borders.
North Florida.
I'll even concede South Florida for someone like Skip. I disagree, but I'll concede it. But North Florida is absolutely the South, yo. No way. You go to Duval County and
Duval.
Exactly. Nah.
I just like saying that. I don't even know anyone from there.
Exactly. That's how you know. You already know. If you
Somebody said 2000s theme. Shit, I'm old. This is my first theme party I've ever thrown. And I thought of it spur of the moment because me and a nigga was sending TikToks back and forth, and I saw this thing about 2000s theme, and then we was talking about some jabos, and then I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's do a 2000 theme party.
Who's got the playlist?
I actually made a collaborative playlist and sent it to the group chat. This is why we should not make plans when people are on drugs, but we was on some drugs and it was just marijuana. It wasn't nothing crazy. And we was at this bar drinking, hanging out, and I was like, I didn't do something for my birthday. He was like, yeah, I should plan a party. I said, you should plan a birthday party. And I put him in a group chat with my friends. I said, let's plan a birthday party. And by let's plan, I mean y'all plan it, and I'll be back. And so then they planned it. It was great. And I didn't have to do anything.
Good friends. Good friendship.
Yeah, they the best.
Y'all, man, let me wake up. Jesus. I'll get some eye drops. Relax.
Oh my gosh. They on your ass.
It's light. It's a light rub. Don't worry. It's not. It's just a light rub. Jeez. Also,
hey, so
okay, but I mean, so I want to reevaluate this Malcolm line, right?
Oh,
he's just talking about the country's racist. He's not saying that the South is everything in the USA. He just, as everything below the Canadian border is the basic Dixon line. So or the Canadian border is the South because the Canadian border is the Mason-Dixon line for real. And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll give you that. But he's just saying that everyone's racist. That does not make everything the South.
I'm gonna tell y'all the same shit that got me kicked out of Missouri prisons.
Oh Lord.
Oh God.
When you fly in the air, you don't know what the line divide. You don't know which state is which. It doesn't give a. And who gives a fuck? You're not gonna see.
But I can't tell though.
You're gonna see a bunch of land and water, and your ass need to fight on that motherfucker.
That's not when I fly east to west and I'm flying over deserts. I'm like, I'm on the west
coast. You pick the terrain. You want to fight in the mountains? You want to fight on the beach? Where you want to fight? We got to fight. Fuck that.
Which one?
All right, it's currently 105 degrees in Florida, but all right, man. Y'all, you listen.
He said, y'all got it. Y'all got it.
We gonna have to throw hands. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I'm gonna go up to Skip's place. I'm gonna be real comfortable. I'm gonna eat in the restaurants like I live there, and he's gonna see. But it's all right. One day I'll pull up on Skip. We'll have this discussion in person. I still have talked to the RNA. I've been talking to every elder I could find about why Florida's not in there. I'm getting different answers. I'm starting to think we just weren't properly considered. What's the Isaiah Thomas me? I met the criteria, but I was not selected. I don't understand.
That meme is so funny to me.
So that's how I feel about Florida. We meet the criteria. Y'all just forgot about us. You're gonna leave us alone.
It happens, you know. Man. It happens.
That's what I like.
Yes.
Y'all can have that shit.
Period, Brittany.
So listen, man. I don't know if we getting into. I don't know if we got to check in, but we gotta go straight to the Trump shit because this motherfucker is crazy, and anybody who is crazy. In fact, I was just talking to my peoples. We have concluded that Trump is the most articulate, famous, smart KKK. Like, you know how dumb all the KKKs be, and there's somebody. Look, they made it. He made it. Like that nigga is. Trump is dumb, bro.
He's the most articulate class of
it. Like ever. Like he's the famous.
He might be the funniest though.
He the funniest. He the richest. He the smartest. Like everything that could be great about a Klansman, he embodies. And so he could just go up there and make people proud. Like when he read the teleprompt. But sometimes I think I forget about rhetorical ethic that Marimba Ani says, where Europeans try to like name things as decoy, right? So the intelligence community, as I started reading they declassified files, these motherfuckers are stupid, bro. I don't think like are y'all interacting? Like, do you interact with like how subpar intelligence that most white people have? Like most white people are not as intelligent as people decorate them.
Trying to get us hate speech.
I know. I'm just saying, I'm just saying. You talk about the IQ test and all this stuff. Just most people, even people who would create such things as racism and IQ, like these people are not that smart at all, right? Yeah. But I'm almost willing to bet, and I'm gonna show some of the documents. When they say that people are meddling in elections, they're probably saying that Cuba wants you to stop the motherfucking sanctions, lift the embargo. Like that's kind of what they're like. You can read their language and see like what are they talking about? In fact, the document that Trump higher person went to investigate after the elections, he came back and said China was not. It's not even possible that they
interfered in the elections. Well, that was the Democrats said it was Russia, right? When Meta and them had even more interference, and then now Trump had to come back and say it was China or something, right? So they just needed a scapegoat. So they just picking countries on the map.
Bro, even his people is like, yo, just listen, you making up rumors and stuff. Where the files at? We got this much Epstein files. Focus on that shit, bro. Like
drop the files, nigga.
Even his people saying that. Like, anyway, I'm sorry. Amber, I know you watched it. Lorik, I don't know if you got to watch it, but
I unfortunately did not get a chance. Do y'all have some
Yeah,
highlights
I
for
was
me?
watching
I
it.
watched the end of it. But go ahead.
I was watching it with some other creators because we were fact checking for The Root, the magazine, and I'm gonna tell you something right now. We got 15 minutes in. I said, baby, it ain't shit else to fact check. Everything a lie.
Right.
Cut it off. Wrap this up.
Yeah,
Roll this on up.
that was essentially how I've been interacting with every single Trump speech. I don't really like they don't change much from one to the other. I've seen
It
it.
was just so weird to me that you really took primetime television to get on here and read a CIA report talking about yourself in third person and try to set up this argument about why the elections is being interfered in and like just insane shit that he was talking about. Like in Ohio, the organizer said they were just told to put people's names on the registration form and to register people. You have to have somebody's social security number to register them to vote.
He
I was
doesn't.
like, you're not even a good liar.
He doesn't know. That's good. Like to get
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I really, I think sometimes you have to watch stuff like this just to say that you watched it. Cause like this shit, like I'm telling you, bro, in 2 years, I wouldn't even say 110 or 560. In 2 years, like this motherfucker is just crazy, bro. I think we in like a simulated world, bro. Like
this is year 6 technically, right? he's 6 years in deep on the president shit.
Listen, man. Look, so this is the declassify, classify, declassify, classify, some classified,
unclassified, declassified, unclassified,
super classified, whatever the nigga. Like, but in March
from 2021. Okay, the national. Look at all those insignias. Like, go up. Where are all these agencies, man?
So you have official
what is
office to the Director of National Intelligence, Central Intelligence,
Department of Justice, NSA,
FBI,
Homeland Security,
NSA,
State Department, and the Department of the Treasury.
Listen,
right.
they're brightest of their bright did this report, guys.
Alphabet boys were in formation.
The best that they got to offer, right? Declassified version of a classified report. This was interesting, full supporting information, and does not discuss specific intelligence reports, source, or methods. I want to know your methods because the chances are your ass bullshit.
I love how we're getting a whatever they want version of the actual report. They're like, we're just gonna edit this shit.
There's all your people, the CIA.
I've never seen a motherfucker release CIA files like this, and you releasing CIA files about the elections you won, bitch.
He's setting up.
Watch
round,
this. Y'all about to see his files actually said that Russia tried to influence the elections against Biden towards him.
Yeah, they did.
He says that himself.
Yes,
it's in the report right here. Not him, his smart people that he sent out there to do the report. They said
intelligence community really can publicly reveal the full extent.
So anyway, for this purpose of this assessment, election influence includes overt and covert efforts for foreign governments or actors acting as agents of or on behalf of foreign governments intended to affect direct, like this is just bullshit. Like you can just say, oh, these people got good business practices. This president will help our country better than this president because they got softer policies, phrasing, and blah 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 blah. You could say that, and that will probably count as you meddling in the elections if they don't like it.
Mm-hmm. And so they distinguish between election influence and election interference, and they say interference is affecting the technical aspects. So like if you mess with a voting booth or Amber was talking about before, some of the registration fraud, that would be election interference. And influence could just be what we talked about, like what Meta did as well, which is the ads and the misinformation and that kind of thing. Okay, that makes sense.
So one of the first ones, key judgments, we have no indications that any foreign actor attempted to alter any technical aspects of the voting process in 2020 U.S. elections, including voter registration, class, and ballots. So
whoa, I'm shocked. No way. No way. People aren't trying to actually interfere with elections of the country that bombs people for no reason. No.
So
No.
President Putin authorized and a range of Russian government organizations conducted influence operations aimed at denigrating President Biden's candidacy and Democratic Party supporting former President Trump, undermining public confidence in the election. So do you think anybody else outside of the U.S. has to undermine or delegitimize the elections before its people? Like the U.S. already did that. Like people already, like niggas is, even Democrats are saying like we need to rebuild democracy. So like I think everybody, like most people don't even have confidence in the U.S. election because of the U.S. It has nothing to do with anybody else.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the document goes and they got China. China did not. But this is interesting. At the bottom, it says NIO for cyber assessors. And this is a person like the leading investigator. However, that China did take some steps to try to undermine former President Trump's re-election. Again, this is going to be just as simple as saying his policies, these tariffs are going to hurt us. Tariffs, I'm sorry, these tariffs are going to hurt us. And then that's looked like how they, whoever this intelligence people, I would love to interview somebody in that.
You know that there's the one everyone says is still an active agent, John Curacao. He's all over. He's a former CIA agent. He does interviews. Anytime you see former CIA agent interviews, it's usually this guy, John Kirikao, I believe his name is. But yeah, he's all over YouTube. I've seen some of his interviews. Interesting guy. I go to Snowden interviews because I know he was NSA. So that's always interesting when he talked about it, and glad he's free. Obama tried to put him in the box. But I think you were already kind of there, Geechee, but this is a meta deception generating more Russiagate for the 2028 election. That's how I see it. As in, it's just setting up this whole, whatever result is, either party wants to say it's illegitimate. So the Dems will say Russia did it. Looks like Trump saying China did it. And then now in 2028, either side can explain their failure by saying it was someone else. And that's a very American way of going about things. We're the best, so someone else must be the problem.
I would actually push on that and say I don't think that's the goal of like the speech he did last night. As somebody who watched the entire thing, you could see that he was using this as a way to talk about like the whole Russia fraud thing, but he specifically is trying to show how the elections are currently managed through states is not legitimate. So he was specifically talking about election examples, and then he got into, and this is why we need the Save America Act, and this is why we need to pass this bill. You need to call your Congress members. And that was my favorite part because it really felt like the climax to the speech. He started going the fuck off and yelling at us. And I said, oh, you're mad. That motherfucker started yelling. I said, your little mask just slipped real quick. And that's how you be talking to them white people in them meetings. Leave me about this shit. And that was the thing that most people were talking about. I saw them talking about the most online. Because, I mean, he was legit yelling. He was getting flustered. And he was like, I was like, whoa.
What's the Save America Act? What's that about?
The Save America Act is a way for federal government to be more in charge of elections, basically. So the entire speech was really for him to show how states managing elections are really the reason why we have so many election issues. And that he mentioned multiple times about how these states need to give people access to their voter rolls, and that the national government needs to get access to the voter rolls so they can make sure the elections are secure, and like all this bullshit around, just really trying to undermine that states don't know what they're doing. And because they don't know what they're doing, things are getting worse. The elections are more compromised. The integrity isn't there. Like he was just trying to build up this argument because they've been trying to pass the Save America Act, but the Republicans aren't on board either. So they don't have the votes to pass it and haven't had the votes to pass it for a while now. And because of that, he got on the internet and shit and started yelling at people and just said that we need to call out Congress members.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems. I could see why maybe Republicans would be against it. It seems really short-sighted. Like it works while your party's in power and in control of the federal government, but I imagine Trump wouldn't be pushing this at all if the Democrats were in control of the federal government. And I'm sure some of his less short-sighted colleagues in the Republican Party can probably see how one controlling state elections is how they get power, like in Florida, all the gerrymandering and things. But I guess are they saying federal government control of the presidential election? Is that what they're trying to argue about?
He wants to have access to people's voter data. So like they put a request in for states to give them their voter data, and then they tried to threaten people. They were like, "Oh, we'll take ICE out of work, out of your state if you turn over your voter rolls," like shit like that. And so because those things aren't working, and he also just lost that huge Supreme Court case around mail-in ballots. Like you also got to look at what's happening in the world and how this all led up to this. That Supreme Court ruling just came out that mail-in ballots can be counted after Election Day, up to 5 days, as long as they're postmarked before Election Day. That's a huge loss for them because we know a lot of Democrats vote by mail, and he votes by mail. He literally voted by mail.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes. He voted by mail, and he got up there and was talking about, and y'all just mailing in all these fake ballots with voting by mail. And we were like, nigga, you voted by mail.
It's for you, not for me. Yeah.
We had that L. They've been trying to pass the Save America Votes Act. That's not working. They've been trying to pass that shit for over a year. It's not working. So then he said, let me get on primetime TV and yell at y'all and fearmonger.
We're going to skip through some of it.
I know we're skipping.
And a 100% expensing for our job-creating businesses. Our stock markets are at their highest point in many years, but we can actually say of all time. And your 401ks, pensions, and retirement accounts are setting records during my first term. And unfortunately, we're forced to use it now. We won in Venezuela, which is now working with us to produce millions and millions of barrels of oil. We are likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very shortly.
They put belt to y'all ass,
back and earned that confidence by confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly, and that's what we're doing. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. With big U.S. companies to influence U.S. business leaders to turn against the President of the United States of America. The Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him, as many compromise U.S. election infrastructure.
So I'm thinking more about like the speech writers and the people's like somebody wrote this shit, bro, and they is it possible that they believe the shit that they write?
I need to see proof the teleprompter was on, because some of that shit he was saying, I don't think it was on the teleprompter.
Maybe.
Now he ad-lib. He always do the ad-libs, but
I think they know his style, right? What he prefers. He probably even like tells them at this point. So yeah, I mean, there are people who mimic Trump like very, very well. Yeah. It's pretty easy, I think, after a while to notice the pattern of how he talks. So he's gonna say everything's great. It's the best things that's ever happened. A bunch of unsubstantiated claims about how he's always winning, and then there are enemies coming to get us. And I think folks are already saying that works on like the MAGA crowd, doesn't really work too much on anyone else. But what's interesting is he was just in China at some economic forum, and he was talking about how well they can work together and how much he wants to So people will be like, that's just a politician, I guess. But I think Trump knows that he's going to say whatever misinformation he wants to his base. And then when he has to go on the world stage, he'll do, whatever he thinks is necessary there. Not to say he's not this unhinged in other places around the world, but in places where he actually doesn't have power, he doesn't show up this way. So I just think that's always funny. I think it's weird for China to be aware that this kind of stuff happens and still let him rock, but I'm not in control of China. I do think this is why we got to be careful with anti-China stuff in general, though, because we know both parties want to wage war on China, but it seems like the Republican Party, that's their main focus. And so that always worries me whenever I see people talk about China, because it was just a few years ago where they had the Chinese spy balloon story that was going around.
Yeah.
And it was some weather balloon that was not, America does not colonize the atmosphere, not yet. So China having a weather balloon hundreds of feet in the air doing meteorological research is not a spy balloon. But I remember that whole story went crazy. And even had some friends who were like, oh, why is China spying on us? And I'm like, please stop watching TV.
Yeah, like you've been in the hood. You've been getting shrimp fried rice and four pieces of chicken for at least 20 years, my nigga. They already know what you're doing, bro. They
know your order.
Yeah, nigga, they don't spy on you. What the fuck is you talking about, bro? Like, eat the chicken and shut up. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
They know how much
like they really threaten to the national government and shit. And it'd be so funny.
Orange chicken and shrimp fried rice and General Toast. Like, stop acting like your ass ain't know them Chinese people up the road, bro.
Oh man.
But anyway, Amber, I'm curious, real quick before we go on. So I keep like, there's always this like, so some of the politicians, the famous ones in Georgia and Atlanta, like they're really annoying, right? And unfortunately, because I'm on the board of a community, like we have to talk with them more often than I would like. And so, but I'm leading to this question. Like people like Mo Ivy and other people, like they always have this, like, everybody's bad, the government and Trump, and we don't. And then there's like, especially in Atlanta now, the DSA elements, and then there's like the establishment Dems. I'm curious, and this is the broad as hell, but I'm curious how would you explain these times in the movement as it relates to Democrat Party, Trump. Just Trump influence, and then DSA. Like I want to go broad, vague, but go ahead.
I think the best way to describe it is that younger Dems found an org they felt more, they resonated better with, and then they used the power in that org to still elect Democrats that don't necessarily agree with the Democratic establishment. And that's pissing them off because they want the old people to stay in power. And the DSA has enough young people that will work for it, but also enough like bodies on the ground and money to compete. And it's kind of like a headbutting in a way of like the establishment Dems don't want to give it up, but the DSA people are going to win either way. And it's actually really funny. I like it. I like watching it happen because I also think that one thing I didn't like about the Democratic Party is that people didn't always feel like they had a place. Like younger people didn't always feel like they had a place. So a lot of them did join DSA and they feel like they had a place there. So now they're using that power because they're still Democrats and they can't tell them they can't run as Democrats. So they're going to still run and they're winning. And I love that for them. Honestly, I told our friend group, I was like, I really wish we had a DSA candidate for city mayor here because we have city elections next year. And I think we should start recruiting somebody like that's more Dem socialist centered to run. Because I think they'd be a better candidate, realistically.
Yeah, I remember. I think it's a power struggle within the Democratic Party. I mean, we already just talked about the Republican Party, so they're maggot out. I'm not going to say I'm providing the most in-depth analysis of the forces in the Republican Party. So, I'll leave it to somebody who does that. And if we find one of their articles, sure. So it's interesting to see what factions, who's next up. I don't think, fascists usually pick successors. So I'm not sure what the scramble is going to look like in a post-Trump world. At least he's probably not thinking about that. But I'm sure the power brokers in the party have some ideas. So see how that goes on the Republican side. But yeah, it's a far-right party. The Dems are a right-wing party, arguably far-right as well, which is funny. And then now we have more moderate wings of that party. As Dan Ember is pointing out, trying to, pull it back to center right, I guess. So that makes sense to me. I will continue to say, I don't think this is something that we haven't seen before in the Democratic Party. So that's why I always share. This is my favorite book on the subject, The Democrats, A Critical History by Lance Selfa. Very good book from start to finish. And I think anytime I'm looking at the Democrats, how they're maneuvering, if there's new forces at play, those kinds of things, can we take over the Democratic Party? This book is really good because there's a period where it just asks that question over and over again. Like, can progressives take over the Democratic Party? Can progressives take over the Democratic Party? And then every time it answers it, no, we cannot. It's impossible. Stop trying. We tried it 19 this. Then
But
we tried it 19.
who we calling progressive?
2000 this. Yeah. So
I wonder who we calling progressive, because I'm so I think Art and some other people said it, but maybe this is not Art. I'm sorry. But if the DSA is essentially just the younger generation who obviously they're more in tune with what's going on, right? And so, I mean, did young people take over the Democrat Party? Like, are they progressive? Like, I mean,
I think Amber's talking specifically to the DSA and where there is a younger contingent of candidates running. Like, I think that's just clear.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Democratic Party in general. I'm talking about DSA and like Young Dems. Like, most of the people who are in Young Dems are DSA members. We have a huge, it's only like maybe a small faction of people that are just like, doing stuff in their Dem party or whatever. And they're in like the bigger states, like here, New York and like California and stuff. But the people in other states, like smaller states in the South, they're DSA members, and they just join Young Dems because they don't have like big DSA chapters where they are. Like, we don't have one here. There's a DSA chapter here in Memphis, and it's like 10 white people. Like, the black people aren't in it. So a lot of people don't join it, but they do believe in it, and they're like national members. So that's really what most people end up doing. And then when I'm in like our Black Caucus stuff, they'll be talking about DSA events or Sunrise stuff, because some of them are also in Sunrise. Some of them are in like PSL and stuff too, but not a lot. Most of them are really in DSA and like Sunrise movement. Because we're actually hosting a phone bank for Cori Bush this weekend that I organized with the Black LA Young Dems in California. Because, California is like staunchly Dem, so they don't really have any like battleground stuff. So they'll do like events. And the people in the chat were like, yay, I'm so glad we're doing this, because they were like, they weren't sure if Young Dems were going to do anything, because usually they don't like do stuff against like incumbents. And I was like, yeah, we was going to do something. Fuck that nigga. Trying to get Cori Bush back in there. What you mean? So we're doing that event with them. But a lot of people were like, they weren't shocked that we were doing it, but they were like excited because they weren't sure, because the national Young Dems isn't doing anything. They're not like doing anything for her, but we are, and we can do whatever we want. So that's another thing that I like about it too. I wouldn't be in the regular Democratic Party because they can't do whatever they want. They don't endorse in primaries. They can't like support candidates that the establishment isn't supporting. They can't do events for them, and they can't do none of that stuff. And I don't believe in that. I think that that's censorship, and that's not like big tent of you, right? That's not very big tent of you to be like, and you can only support these types of Dems, only these types of Democrats. No. And mind you, I'm barely a Democrat, so I really was like, no.
And it's called democracy. It's in the name, right? So can we vote for who we want?
He said my hair looks so good. Appreciate it. I sat for 10 hours for these.
Hey.
And it was worth it.
I think, there's stuff to go through with DSA. I had an interesting video that I think I can share, but I think we already
Because you always got a video from somewhere. Where are you finding these videos?
My network. My network.
Educate,
Amber, you
man.
got a big network. You can't even act like I got reach.
Yeah, but my network is very unserious.
Hey, trust me, mine is not the most serious.
If people in my group chats, they would be like, y'all are so unserious. And I'm like, yeah, and we're the new adults.
Exactly. I did want to point out we have a definition because someone in the chat already said what I think about, and Geechee, you pointed out. I don't think like progressive's not a good thing to me. So I think we got to just start there with the definition of that term, because I think a lot of folks are confused. But progressive is just a specifically radical type of liberal. So it's a specific species of liberal that can be dangerous because liberalism in general is dangerous. It's a right-wing ideology. So I always struggle with people who have different understandings of that word progressive and what it means. I think someone already said, like, it's not real socialist, that kind of thing. In our glossary, there's a definition. We haven't pulled this out in a while, so I don't want it to. It says progressivism is a radical wing of liberalism that emerged in the United States as a reformist alternative to socialism, particularly during the early 20th century when figures like Teddy Roosevelt sought to co-opt the demands of Eugene Debs and the socialist movement. Rooted in the professional managerial class, progressivism tends toward technocratic, bureaucratic, and reformist solutions that aim to tame the worst excesses of capitalism without altering its fundamental power structure. This orientation allows progressives to attract broad coalitions, including interest groups and budding radicals, but also leaves them wavering on key questions like imperialism and the balance of power between capital and labor. In this sense, progressivism functions as liberalism's immune system. It pushes liberal ideology toward limited social welfare and state intervention when capitalism is in crisis. And it channels popular energy away from more radical socialist alternatives. Contemporary democratic socialists such as Bernie Sanders continue this lineage, carrying forward the reformist legacy of early progressives rather than breaking with capitalism itself. Then there's a quote from this book by Eric Loomis. I won't read the entire thing, but it's called A History of America in 10 Strikes. And I like this particular piece where it says the general disorder of American society, and this is around when many panic stock crashes had happened leading up to what we know as the Great Depression. But it says political corruption and waste of natural resources to poverty and unsafe food. Oh man, as we're going through this pandemic right now with the can't use no vegetables, as is unsafe. So this was talking about 100 years ago, but led to the rise of progressivism after 1885. This was a series of movements led by middle and upper class people who believed Americans should come together to solve society's problems using government when necessary, but with an emphasis on volunteerism, scientific study, and investigative journalism. So it just goes on to say that the progressives aim to tame the worst excesses of capitalism. So I think they're a left-wing solution to the problems of liberalism, quote unquote, not left, but leftish. And then I think the alternative is fascism, which is a very far right-wing solution to the crisis. So I think you either get people trying to tame it, saying, look, you know, the billionaires, we got to raise the tax rate on you. We got to pay for some basic schools. People need a little bit of health care. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to leave capitalism intact, but we need a little bit of the crumbs. And then you have fascists who are like, nah, we're going to tighten the belt and y'all are going to fall in line. So I think both of those responses make sense. And I think if you look at the U.S., Geechee, to your original question, you have both responses happening. You have a far-right consolidation among the Republican Party, fascist consolidation, and then in the Democrats, you have pushes for like DSA and that kind of thing. That's another one. Diallo says fascism is capitalism's immune system, which I like. Progressivism is capitalism's release valve, or like I said, liberalism's immune system. So I think that's pretty good too. But how are you viewing DSA in your area, Geechee? Are they anywhere near you? I have a vid about one of their caucuses whenever we're ready. But
DSA got, they got a few people in city council right now. At least one, Kelsey. And there's actually a few that ran, and there's DSA adjacent. And then the young DSA, they on the campus right now. Like they, you know, my some of my students are that they felt like that was the
way to go.
most, yeah, you know. So
Yeah. When it's there, I mean, that's what people are going to be drawn to. Everyone's going to be testing out different theories of change at any given moment. That's also why I talk about like not obsessing over, oh, is it violence or is it non-violence? Or are we going to do this or we're going to do that? I'm like, listen, people under different conditions are going to try different shit. So as in community, a lot of people have that discussion about violence and like, well, are we going to have? I'm like, listen, you do what Israel does to people. You do what the U.S. does to people. Some people are going to try nonviolence. Some people are going to try violence. That's just natural order of things. So really, it's just about the order of forces, the array of forces, and which one's going to work in which scenario. So I look at it like that. And yeah, DSA is going to be that. I think there's a lot of internal dynamics to DSA if we were to try and look into it. Oh, I know you got that one. I had something DSA related if you wanted to just look at that real quick.
Yeah.
So they were on Fox News because there are caucuses within DSA, which is really funny. So Fox News was like, there are communists in DSA. To my point that yes, well, there'll be people who are trying every formation and seeing which ones work. I don't think you'll find too many communists in the Democratic Party. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's still one or two spooks who sat by the door there.
Yeah,
but this is Marxist Unity Group.
At this point, it's rough out here, bro. I mean,
so yeah, man, you never know.
Sometimes, you know, on paper, you know, people could be like you have your orgs that could be radical, but in the community, like online versus in community, if DSA is the only one showing up and doing this or whatever, and other people online talking, like you might only have DSA there. So
yeah,
I mean, this is actually crazy.
This is funny though. So first of all, Winston Sayre, you're absolutely right. Woodrow Wilson was considered progressive. I like to point that out to people. Mr. Birth of a Nation was a progressive. He was also considered someone who decolonized, which is hilarious. In AP US history, they actually teach that he was one of the first people involved in decolonialism. That's like just very interesting to notice. But anyway, so this is one of the caucuses, I think, in DSA talking about this Fox News report. So let's check it out.
Have y'all seen Fox News and the mainstream media freaking out about DSA? It's actually so wild. And it's wild because one of the reasons they're freaking out is because DSA is fighting for a new constitution. And they want everybody to think that this is some wild idea that's impossible and shouldn't happen. Fortunately for us, it's a great idea. It's completely logical and it needs to happen. Here's why. Have you ever felt like we just don't have a say in how things run? Well, you're not wrong. The Constitution wasn't written for everybody. It was made by rich landowners who owned slaves, and it was designed to protect their power, not give ordinary people a real vote. Back then, the founding fathers were kind of like the billionaires of today. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, the rest of them. They had a lot of power, land, and control. Just like some billionaires now influence politicians, they fund campaigns, they shape the rules to help themselves. The founders that wrote the Constitution, they made it so that it helped them stay on top. They were terrified that if everybody had equal rights, Black people, indigenous populations and communities would demand fairness and reparations. And also that poor workers, white workers, would actually have a say in how things would go. So they built a system that kept them on top. Today, we see the results of that.
Okay, so I see the analysis. I thought they were going to talk a little bit more about the story. But I mean, so this is an element that exists within DSA. Definitely not an element that is represented by figures like AOC or Bernie Sanders, for example. They don't go and talk shit about the Constitution. So that, I think, just speaks to how there's different factions and how young radicals might be drawn to this wing or this element within the DSA. Whereas others might just see it as a vehicle for winning elections and being more progressive than the mainstream Democratic Party. So I think both have to be considered. And then there's going to be a dominant tendency that emerges. And I think right now that dominant tendency is probably isn't what we want. But I do think it's important to notice that Fox News is freaking out and doing research and saying that there's communist factions within the DSA. And there are people in there who are against the Constitution in its current form and stuff like that.
So, Amber, you got anything? You're gonna be.
I think it's interesting that I was talking earlier and I realized the thing was muted. Sorry. I think it's interesting that they're talking about a new constitution because one of the new campaigns that Black Voters Matter has is about establishing a new constitution too. But that's people centered. It allows people to create the new constitution. So I think it's interesting that people are talking about a new constitution. I think that's lit. I would like to see more from it. Okay, you're talking about it on Instagram. What comes after that? Type vibes. But I do agree. I do think that we need a new constitution. And I like the people-centered way we kind of started talking about it. And I want to see okay, how does that develop? What's next?
So, Leah. Oh, Leah, I didn't know you protest. Okay. Question: why are I think that young people going with DSA as opposed to something more radical like socialism or communism? You saying why are they, in terms of joining a socialist or communist organization? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't even think there is any serious socialist or communist radical organization in the U.S. at this point. That also, I think, depending on the city, depending on the city and what you're trying to get into. DSA, as Amber was saying earlier, is them cats is outside at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's even that people don't want to do something more radical like socialism or communism. I actually would be interested to see what that would look like. The issue is that people aren't organizing that. There's no organizations that people can join. So people are going to join what exists. And what exists is Young Dems or DSA. I actually explain this all the time when people are like, why would you be in Dem politics? Nah, 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 nah. And I was like, because there's nowhere for them to go. I don't live in New York. We don't have socialism and communist groups. I live in Memphis and in the South. And those orgs don't exist. So the people who feel that way or even have similar beliefs around that are joining your Young Dems or your DSA. And then they find people who have the similar beliefs of them, they agree on, and they do organizing around it, but they're still limited. So I think that we also have to approach it from an accessibility angle of, we talk about socialism and communism and communist organizing and stuff in our Young Dems groups. But that's because that's what we have. So unless there's somebody that's going to make an org that's going to be everywhere, because even PSL is selective. PSL ain't in Memphis. They're in Nashville. And I think they have a few members, not a lot. It's not consistent. So you got to also be accessible to people from where they are. Is there a communist organizing or socialism organizing in Arizona, in Nevada, in South Dakota, and North Dakota? You got to think about where people are, and where people actually are in Young Dems. Because one thing for sure, they don't have those orgs, but they for sure have a Young Dems in every state in America. And so people are joining Young Dems for that reason.
Lork, I'm curious what you think, because I think online we might be overestimating organizations that are talking about socialism and communism. I think we might be overestimating their actual street cred or actual work. So yeah, I'm curious what you think. This, and then again, there's obviously a lot of still anti socialist, anti communist rhetoric. People are still can't define it.
Yeah.
I think Amber's on it. People are going to organize with what they see around them, even if eventually they're going to move out of that thing. So one of the things I was going to say is we don't have to assume that everyone's only stuck in one place. It's not dialectical. So a lot of people are in the process of engaging Young Democrats or YDSA or PSL and working through contradictions there. And those aren't the only formation you have to join. I am not only in Black Men Build. There are other formations, institutions, things I'm a part of. So those are like my first two thoughts. And then this is just the power struggle. But I will say, and I think folks have already kind of addressed this, that it's a representation of power at the end of the day, right? Like your presence is a representation of power. So the fact that the Young Democrats and the Democrats in general are all over the place is because they have the power to do that. They have capital, and they also have repressive like apparatuses. They have ways of getting you off the ballot, ways of shutting your shit down, ways of making sure that you can't be seen, right? All of that. So there are twofold reasons. Like one is that this is what people have available to them. And then the reason they have that available to them is because the Democrats have the power to repress alternatives. But when they don't, it is also a reflection of power. So if you have people power for an openly socialist organization, and we use them as a classic example with the Black Panthers, then there you go, right? Then you have an alternative. Or what I always use the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, which was a radical wing within the Democratic Party. It was just
Great example, brother.
one of my favorite examples. But it was a reflection of people power, like an immense amount of people power, so much so that when we talk about organizing and people don't mention that, I think we're running from how much organizing it took. Yes, it was a specific era, so it's not like we can replicate it one-to-one. But I had discussions with people who are super into electoral justice, and they were talking about looking at the French Assembly and shit to learn how we could organize independently or build people. I'm like, why are we looking to France when the MFDP is right here? That is history. But what did they have to do? When I read their actual archival records where they talk about what they did, it was mass grassroots organizing. The kind of stuff where I brought it up to people who are on a nonprofit funding cycle from the Democrats and AgBlue and all those things. And it doesn't really, work with their model for organizing and funding, where I'm like, that they just asked everybody what they needed and ran an entire mock election with tens of thousands of people to prepare them to vote for the actual election. So Geechee, I know you like NIMS, the ballots, the streets of both, that evaluation of things. But that's the level of organizing I'm at, where it's like, okay, well, what do the people want? Are you organized enough to get those people to understand what it is they want? And then how do you prepare them to engage the actual electoral system, which is broken as fuck? So I just think starting your organizing from the perspective that the system is broken, that it is not a democracy, and that we have to prepare people to engage an undemocratic system is just going to fundamentally transform how you approach the organizing. So MFDP was like, look, this isn't a democracy, but we're going to try. Let's do a mock election. Who is it that you want to vote for in your precinct? What are the policies you want? And let's do it. And then they did the mock election. They got all the votes. And they're like, all right, now that we've done this mock election with tens of thousands of people, let's do the real thing and engage the actual system and deal with the repression. And I just have not seen any conversations about electoral justice organizing that really take that approach of like, let's be prepared to lose. That's just like you walk into one of these campaign rooms like, yo, let's get ready to lose. They're gonna be like, nah, man, what are you talking about? We can win. We just have to. I'm just like, okay.
Or if you want to win, just readjust your aim. Like your win might be, we want a bigger base.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Lenin, Marx, MFDP, how they approach organizing. Yeah, it's like if you get a telephone list of 1,000 people after you ran your election, this is good. But we already talked about, and many people have discussed, I even think it's in the Selfa book, because I think Selfa covers up to Bernie Sanders, this big betrayal. And then we see it with folks who were in Bernie's campaign, like Breonna Joy Gray. It was a discussion of, all right, you have millions of people who support you. You have a massive network that's been built up, a massive comms network, a bunch of young people who have canvassed and knocked on doors for you, all of this, right? And you just lost. How are you going to transition all of that energy and infrastructure into fighting for the policies that the Democrats literally just cheated you out of getting through democracy? And his answer was, I'm going to lick the boots of the Democratic Party and fall in line. So again, like we had a whole situation. At least Jesse Jackson was able to, he had Operation Push and some sort of grassroots infrastructure that existed after his campaign inevitably lost. But Bernie and those folks just exist to absorb all that energy and make sure it doesn't go anywhere. So
I don't know if y'all got to see well two things before I want to respond to that. So I was trying to get people to, I'm gonna throw that away. A lot of the organizations are still in its infancy stage. Like there's no infancy stage. There's no clear structure to even be visible for people. Like, and so the DSA and Democrat Party, they're like very structural, or even PSL, like they have a more clear, even the Green Party, these people have a clear structure. That's why they can kind of be around a while. Now, their ground game, that's a whole nother conversation, whatever. A lot of the orgs that we claim that we think they understand what socialism and communism is these are just ideas and theories at this point. And some people have got farther along with displaying their theory. So, so in terms of being able to like address a community, like this is the infrastructure that people are seeing. But I want to pivot really quickly. Did y'all get to see Wes Moore's 20v1 where he had no, you did?
Shout out Aaliyah. I said I was gonna hate watch it. Aaliyah sent me some highlights, but I have not seen the entire thing. But when you were talking about election interference earlier, or election influence, I'm sorry, let me use the right Fed approved term. Election influence earlier, I was like, what does Russia and China do that Jubilee cannot do 10 times worse in the U.S. as far as poisoning the discourse?
Nothing.
Jubilee is way worse.
Jubilee is horribly
way worse.
But Amber, and I'm curious, so you'll see at best you might get a DSA in this, like a few of these people might be DSA. You're not gonna get nobody left the DSA.
Yeah.
Even if, like, obviously you're not gonna get an organization that they're not there, but even individuals, they're gonna get weed out of this thing because of the way in which. So you'll see a lot of limitations and questions, but some of them like pushing against the whatever a little bit. But I'm gonna play a little bit and skip it.
We'll see a little Jubilee and rot our brains a little bit.
It does not matter at all because the money does not flow to their pockets, but the pockets of the oligarchs.
Do you know who does not want us to disengage? The people who came before us. They want us to use our voice. They want us never to lose the power that they fought for.
Why should I be incentivized to vote if I know for a fact that nobody is going to live up to the expectations that they're going to change when nothing has?
Do Americans still believe their vote has power, or do some view that not voting
with our tax dollars, but oftentimes they do not reflect what we actually hope for? And that's why I believe that we have a responsibility to make sure we have the right people in the right seats that are making the right decisions that are actually on our behalf.
So I want to point to a historical example first, the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Yeah.
And that was kind of come about from a movement rather than necessarily getting to the ballot box. I'm not going to speak for everybody here, but I know for me, I feel that it's more effective to mobilize in the streets or protest in the streets rather than sometimes going out to the ballot box where I don't feel the candidates represent what I'm looking for. Yeah. So I think there are other ways of participating in shaping policy rather than just voting.
No, and I think it's a very fair point, but also I think it's also important to remember what was the goal of the civil rights movement, right? The goal of the civil rights movement wasn't just to protest. The goal of the civil rights movement was to get to a civil rights act. Like the reason was because they wanted to share.
It was the goal was to put those specific laws into the Constitution. That was the goal.
And it's not because we're cool. It's I had to convince them to vote because I think the frustration that you're talking about is real. But
I think he's being honest. I think that y'all be expecting Wes Moore to be something he not.
Why are they working so hard to take them away from you?
No, Wes think he's something. Listen,
Wes think he big shit. Honestly, it's because he fine. Fine niggas always doing the most. Always doing the most.
Rights. If your voting rights were not so important, why is the dismantling of the Voting Rights Act so egregious? The reason that they're trying to take it away is because it is powerful. The reason that they're trying to take it away is because they know that is your chance to be able to make sure that if people are not representing your views, we get them out. And that's why I think that the protest is important, But if you look at what the goal of the protest was, your voting is saying, I'm
Okay, can we
participating
pause
in
for a
making the
second?
system
Like, why y'all keep skipping through?
Because Geechee don't want to hear all this. Can we?
Damn.
We're gonna skip. I got a couple of hit points I'm hitting, but we ain't.
So, okay. All right. First of all, I understand. This is why narrative and the MFDP, all that we discussed, is so fucking important. First of all, first and foremost, it was not among the organizers on the ground called the civil rights movement exclusively. In fact, what our people called it was the freedom movement. If you talk to the elders, if you study the CRM archive, it was called the freedom movement. Just like it's the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, and then it's rebranded by other folks as Mau Mau or Civil Rights Movement, and even that
Black Wall Street, all of it is renamed.
all of these labels alter your historical consciousness and how you remember and interpret a movement. So even
Which
the
is why
fact that
niggas don't know that they were so fucking radical, because they keep rephrasing, renaming everything to the Civil Rights Movement or the Civil Rights Act. And,
And then now John Hope Bryan saying silver rights. These niggas is crazy.
Silver rights, yes.
These motherfuckers is crazy.
The reason Westmore, and that's the whole thing we just talked about, power and the Democrats and decades and decades of control over all of the institutions of the country, including education, is that this whole generation of young people grew up barely learning U.S. history and then learning mythology about the civil rights movement. And so even starting from that baseline, people are incorrect. It was not the civil rights movement. It was the freedom movement that is rebranded as the civil rights movement. And then what is the split that Westmore is ignoring? There were those who still kept trying to do U.S. democracy after it failed. And then there were others who understood that it was time for Black power. It was time for revolution, revolutionary consciousness among our people, right? And so that whole narrative, the entire actual lessons that come from the civil rights movement are completely bastardized by people like Westmore, who work for the empire and want you to remember it according to those terms and debate according to those terms. So that first person brought up that it was through protest. Yes, and then Westmore conveniently says, well, what was their goal? The goal was to get the Civil Rights Act passed. No, it fucking wasn't, because we just talked about the MFDP. Their goal was democracy, for the U.S. to live up to the ideals, some of them, not all, that it claims to live up to. So they were like, we should be able to vote, to elect our own politicians, to have our own party, to run its policy. That was what it was for. So if the fact that the Civil Rights Act from Lyndon B. Johnson emerged because the Democrats COINTELPRO'd the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, that is the only reason the Civil Rights Act passed. It was a concession because we weren't actually allowed to have democracy. If we are actually allowed to have democracy the way that the freedom movement was fighting for, we wouldn't have needed the Civil Rights Act from Lyndon B. Johnson. So that's where I'm at. Like, it's such a CIA style history being embedded in people's brains that, like, you're automatically coming into this thing losing by just talking based on the history you've been taught. So
it's a revisionist history. They be rewriting shit.
Yep.
And that was one of the things, like,
the answer to Zenzi's question is because we want to. And if you don't want to watch it, you can pause for a second because we're gonna watch a little bit more.
I'm screaming. Okay. Anyways.
Go ahead, Amber.
Damn, I forgot.
Sorry, Amber. I'm sorry.
You're saying it's revisionist history?
Oh yeah, it's revisionist history, which is why I think Black August is so important, and that we use Black August to educate folks, but also Freedom Summer, which is why I was like, I really like that so many people were really getting engaged in Freedom Summer this year. And it was around redistricting in the Civil Rights Act and shit, but it was also like, okay, and we need to engage y'all past this. So let's talk about how we got here in the first place. Let's talk about the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Like, let's get into that, because so many people still don't know. Like, even when I be teaching basic government classes, I did a basic like government 101 class like a few months ago. It was people in their 60s who didn't know the information I was talking about around city council meetings and county commission. Like, people don't know basic government structure. They don't know basic history. When we did Black August last year, I'm talking about people who was like damn near Hotep type Pan-African niggas who did not know a lot of the shit we were talking about, had never read The Ballad of the Bullet, which is why I talk about how people are they have those beliefs like in general, right? Like they dress a certain way and they have these ideas and beliefs, but they're not studying. They're not opening the fucking books. So they don't know. What'd you say?
Cultural nationalists. Most of them don't.
Yeah. It's like a cultural thing. It's not like, but there's no praxis happening at all. And I think that's the biggest issue, is that people don't have the resources to learn the actual praxis that goes along with it. And I think when we add that in, then we can help rewrite the revisionist history they're trying to push. Because I don't fully disagree with Wes Moore. Some of the stuff he's saying is true, but it's also the delivery of how he's saying it. Like, I think when you say they wouldn't want you to do that, I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think our ancestors would want us to be involved in a party that listens to us, that puts forth candidates that we want, like the Mississippi Democratic Freedom Party. I don't think that the people he's talking about will be like my ancestors.
My ancestors would want you to build an independent party and not try to join a party.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, that was an independent party, right?
Well, no, that was an extension.
Yes, and I think it's fair to say yes and no. They were within the Democratic Party structure, but they were not sanctioned by the Democrats in the state at all. So,
and they are evidence not to ever trust the Democratic Party. Actually, that's how I see them. Like they're evidence that we need an independent party.
But yeah, Amber,
I would argue that the organizing that started within the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party that Fannie Lou Hamer was leading is similar to what's happening right now with DSA.
That's what I was going to ask, and I'm afraid that that's what people are going to start saying, and I don't think so.
I don't think they should say that like as in like an absolute, but I think part of the organizing they're doing, part of the strategy they're using, is to use the base of people they have to move within this larger org to get what we want, which is what they wanted to do in the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Now, I think that they had more like goals, there were more specific things, but I think that they're taking the strategy idea of moving within something that already exists, using our power and our voice and our people, because the biggest thing here that I think people aren't clocking into is the DSA is full of young people. Young people canvass and phone bank. The reason why the older Dems are losing is because their base of people don't canvass and phone bank. And so now that people are canvassing and phone banking and telling them, hey, do you know your rep is doing this? Do you know your rep voted for this bill? Do you know they agreed to this thing? Do you know we've been asking for the same thing for 6 years and it's never happened? Then they're like, oh shit, never mind. I don't want to vote for them. And that's really what's pushing them over the edge, is that people are actually educating voters on what these reps are really doing. And that is a strategy from what Fannie Lou Hamer wanted. Because as a student of Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker, I'm telling you right now, they were using their base of people to talk to people to get them on board. And that's what DSA is doing.
Yeah.
But get them on board to what is the thing.
Right.
Like, because I think, and maybe we should do this, and I'm sorry, Lord.
No,
maybe we should do us three do something around entryism, DSA, and the Mississippi Democratic Freedom Party, and have some type. I don't know. Maybe we can read a few things together and then come up with something. But because I think there's a lot of limitations to entryism that people.
Even that term, and even the term coming from socialist history isn't really discussed too often. I resonate with most of what Amber's saying, so I was like trying to pinpoint what was making me uneasy, because I agree. My thing was, well, maybe not so much that they have the same level of mass organization, but exactly what Amber's talking about, like young people, like these white progressives who we see in this Jubilee thing are the folks who possibly in the past would have been able to go down for Freedom Summer and work with SNCC. Right? Like that is the trajectory. If the movement was active and healthy, they would be on, instead they're doing Jubilee debates. Right. So what went wrong is kind of what I'm trying to look at. What I'm seeing is what you said, Geechee. The whole point of MFDP is to teach us a lesson, to teach you that the Democrats are counterinsurgent. There is no reforming them. They will protect the right, capital, fascism before they give you what you need. And so if I see the same strategy across space and time without the lesson learned, that's more what I'm concerned about. So as I said, DSA is a broad organization, lots of different factions, ideas, people at different levels of development. But we do know that one of the dominant strains in that party is not revolutionary at all. does want to work with the Democratic Party, does try to reform the Democratic Party. And so if that is a dominant tendency within the DSA, then they are not learning the lessons of the MFDP. So they're just doomed to repeat the same mistakes. That's what I'm more worried about. Even if the strategy is the same, you haven't learned the lesson. So, that's more what I'm worried about. Just more commentary on the Jubilee thing as well. Check out, I know we're going to have him on one of these days, but Carlos Deculturation was on Jubilee debating about Palestine. He has an interview with Jared. He talks about all of it. He talks about how he had to send in a video, how they look at you beforehand, how they kind of test you out, how they filter through the people that are going to be allowed, all of these things. So just, again, when we're talking about the election influence, we want to remember this is infotainment. So this is all designed for spectacle, for what we saw at the beginning, so they can make a trailer with the most viral clips that they can just post on Instagram that's going to draw your attention to it. So all of that meta understanding of this commodity that we're seeing surrounded their series needs to go into place, because other people are copying it, just like Pop the Balloon Show and all these kinds of things that like one person does and then everybody starts doing it. So I think I even saw in the suggested videos under there, one Michael Jordan fan versus like 20 LeBron fans, right? So that is like this is not, when we talked about debate last week, this is not debate meant to actually encourage deep thinking and research and challenge of ideas. It really is like a very curated form of conversation meant to go viral. So
yeah, it's partially scripted. Like someone was telling me, I think you were telling me, who knew somebody who went on there?
It was me. It's Carlos from
you were telling me that they were scripted, but somebody else had told me before that it was scripted. And after you said that, I said, "Oh, I definitely believe it's scripted."
Well,
they picked
Wes is not scripted.
Yeah, right.
Wes is not
Wes is not scripted. But I mean, I think you explained the point that I was making, which is that I really just think is that people are using this strategy. I just would love to see more Black people using this strategy, which is why I talked about how we need to be tapping into our ancestral playbook, which is what I'll be talking about for Black August as well. But I really would love to see more organizing, because similar to what we talked about before, with like people joining orgs that are just near them, like what's around them, I would love to see people starting more orgs that are centered around more socialist and communist beliefs. Because when you talk to Black people here, especially in Memphis, they believe in socialism. They agree with socialism.
Most humans,
nobody's explaining it to them.
Most humans believe it. Most humans do.
I was in a Lyft car. This man was ranting the whole Lyft ride about how he don't understand why we got to pay for the water. The water should be free. The government charging us for shit. I said, let me lock you into an OI, brother. Let me get you tapped into an OI, brother. Because he said, I'm just sick of this. I don't understand why the government charging us for all this stuff. I said, exactly. Why is the government charging us? He said, all this should be free. Why are we paying rent? And why the rent almost due again? I said, exactly, brother. Talk about it.
Then
fix it, then I guess I would do that. But I haven't heard anyone mention the 1929 Act of, you know what I mean? So
I mean, perfect example. Just a couple weeks ago, right before the Supreme Court took out the Voting Rights Act and did what I consider to be the greatest form of political redlining that we have seen in our nation and probably in generations. The day before they did that, you know what I did in Maryland? I actually signed the Voting Rights Act of Maryland for 2026, which made sure that we are actually fortified and certifying voting rights and enfranchisement for everybody inside of the state, no matter what the Supreme Court does, no matter how the Supreme Court.
What does that mean exactly?
So basically it's making sure that whenever the Supreme Court wants to try to disenfranchise and rig rules and rig lines, that in the state of Maryland, that we have an independent elections board.
Okay.
That the ruling of the independent elections board is what we are going to follow, and we're not going to follow the rulings of, to your point, a king or someone sitting in Washington.
But I would just, again, I would say that with the poor representation.
Citizens United ruling that flooded our entire system with more money than anyone can imagine. So when you talk about having greater weight in shaping policy, I believe that all of those policies are well shaped months and months and months ahead before any person in this room puts a ballot into a box. I'd love to hear your take.
So one, I could not agree with you more. I think Citizens United was maybe the worst decision that the Supreme Court does, and it needs to be overturned. I think that this role of big money and both the big corporations and also these billionaires, I think that their ability to now somehow think that their donation equates to voice is nonsense, and I think it has to be addressed. And I think that if you look at my story. The reason that I know that the individual vote does matter is because I look at my journey, because this is the first elected office I ever ran for. I mean, there was no corporate interest who made me.
And that's very important.
Yeah,
That's
there
important.
was no PAC who made me. In fact, the political parties, the Democratic Party put millions of dollars to try to stop me when they saw that our campaign was gaining momentum, despite the fact that when I first started running, I was polling 1%. And I realized this, though. Y'all can put whatever money you can against what we're getting done. You could try to put whatever money you did.
Need to stipulate that, hey, I ain't taking money from nobody. I'm taking money from moms and pops and dads and small businesses. I'm not taking money from the big corporations.
I got
Then
something
and
for
only
you,
then
Lord.
will people trust you. Then and only then will the people be energized to step out of their houses and break the disengagement, get out the vote, and put the ballot in the box.
And you know what I was doing before I ran for governor?
What?
I was running. Like when we were watching that, when we were watching a president who has made billions of dollars, when we are watching someone who is literally starting wars.
I don't support Trump at all, brother. So
But my point is this: is that our ability to be able to deal with that, our ability to be able to address that. When I look in the state of Maryland, had that election not happened, do you think that we would have legislation in Maryland that says for every governor from here on out, they need to put their assets in a blind trust? Had elections not mattered in the state of Maryland, would we have a situation where now in Maryland, I have banned prediction trading for anyone who works for the state of Maryland? Because no, you cannot do prediction market trading when you're dealing with insider information. And I just feel like for the incident,
I want to hear the brother's response, Geechee.
And again, I did not know about this incident.
Yeah.
But my question back to you is
now
then
San
this.
Francisco, that's a majority Democratic state.
And that's real.
And it's
Yeah, I'm sorry, we got to pause there.
oh, bro.
I know the rules.
Because I got some initiatives I'm trying to work on.
And I would love to
Fred
talk to you about
Hampton's
that.
a big deal, brother.
Fred Hampton's a very big deal.
I
Fred
think,
Hampton is a very
and
big
I really appreciate the fact that you
I'm sorry,
started
I
off by
forgot-
saying that you were making things. Oh my goodness, man. Yo.
Oh, the dab at the end. Oh, free
I know this is
me.
probably against the rules, but my ask to you back is, for everything you mentioned,
Yeah.
would it be better if we chose to disengage?
Oh,
Is that how
honestly,
we change it?
Well, Fred Hampton disengaged, brother. So did Malcolm X. Arguably, he
They
did.
did not
because he had
disengage.
Electoral promotions, which he
They did not
100%,
disengage.
and I would
And
talk
this
to
is
you
why I
about
be
that.
saying
And I would talk
about
to you about that.
motherfuckers just knowing buzzwords. Because why was you getting excited because he knew the name Fred Hampton?
But it was
And
a little
my
bit of
critique.
I would
This
actually
my
push you
critique
on
for
that over
niggas.
there. No, but
Because
we should talk.
I notice this
We
all
should
the
talk.
time in conversation too.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
like
Yes,
it.
sir.
Have you ever
My
watched a
funniest thing is-
conversation and somebody says a word like a buzzword? My bad, get you.
How you
Somebody
get-
says like a buzzword, and people are like, "Yeah, I agree with that." They're not saying any context. There's no idea. Then nigga said Fred Hampton. He said, "Yeah, Fred Hampton's important." What do you mean? He hasn't said anything.
Jesus.
Why do y'all do that? The critical thinking is in the fucking trash, bro. Expound on it. What about Fred Hampton? What? Let's talk more.
Exactly. And Amber, it was the power of suggestion too. Like, I don't want to just act like these are not dumb people. I do see critical thinking here, truly. Like, I'm not saying they're dumb, but he was already suggested. Westmore these people are good at what they do. They're sociopaths, delusional, or both, as I keep saying. They are good at convincing you of shit. He always has a spin on everything you said. As soon as you say, well, that's why I passed this, and my team did this, and I did that, and anything you fucking say to this nigga, he has a way to turn it into his campaign and into something he did into making you vote for him and going on his line. It's like a salesman. It's impressive. So he was the one who said disengage. He set the terms of the debate. So when the brother responded, he might not have chosen that word on his own. If you're talking about Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, he might have said something different because Westmore said strategically disengage. That was why the young brother was like, "Oh yeah, well, Malcolm Fred disengage, got him, just like
From
that."
from the establishment.
Set you up. So it's so slick. All the shit they're doing. Geechee, real quick, there's another study because I know this kind of stuff is going to get ignored because, again, this is not actually meant for debate. But there's a really popular study a lot of people have mentioned. Who gets what they want from government? It's a Princeton study from a while back. It's been replicated a few times, I think, where they look at different groups, elite interest or business interest versus popular interest versus like these 4 different groups. And what they do is they just find out that the elites get what they want in terms of policy in the country by an overwhelming margin. And then they have all the stats and stuff. You can look at the p-values if you want, but it just shows, yes, That is what the guy was saying about Citizens United. He's correct. So I find that when Americans with different income levels differ in their policy preferences, actual policy outcomes strongly reflect the preferences of the most affluent, but bear virtually no relationship to the preferences of poor or middle income Americans. This isn't about what Westmore thinks can happen or how he feels the world works. This is data on what actually happens. What actually happens is rich people, business interests, corporations get what they want, and everything we want does not happen. And so that study, it can be applied locally, nationally, whatever you want to talk about. There's so many things in Florida, in Miami, where people talk about voters don't do this, and the Miami people don't care, and Floridians are so stupid, and blah, 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 blah. But if you look at our votes, our actual votes, democracy doesn't fucking happen. We voted for weed legalization. We voted for abortion access. We voted for public transportation, and we won all of those. But they have bullshit in about supermajorities that they put in like 2000. So you need 60% of the vote, not 58% of the vote. And so there's all sorts of ways that democracy does not actually happen. And just telling people vote harder is counterinsurgent propaganda. So I just like, we could have just started there. Hey, Wes, can you actually show me where popular interests are represented in U.S. policy? According to this study that I'm talking about here, it's not what's happening. And then he has all of the test examples. This person goes through all of the surveys. He did 754 national survey questions. Let's just go through, I'll randomly select 5. But no, he's not going to do that shit. Instead, he's there to sell you voting for him. Not even voting like.
Listen, that man is selling stuff for. So when I was in Baltimore, I did this research project, and his Robin Hood Foundation was one of the one who came in. And one time we were sitting on this big old Zoom call, and they were talking about poverty for a period of time, and I just got annoyed. And I mean, I don't know, it's like 50 people in there. I was like, listen, I want to just make sure we all have the same definitions. Like, can y'all tell me like what causes poverty? And they started getting like, it was like 3 different people giving. I said, you know what? We can keep going around, and y'all all gonna give 3 different, multiple different definitions. And you don't see y'all don't see a problem with that. Like y'all, Robin Hood Foundation, y'all main purpose is ending poverty, and you don't even know how it starts. Like they were pissed off at me, but I was just kind of like, yeah. I'm like, it was annoying. But even this thing, he kind of talks about how as he sell himself again, like
why does it have to be
I was with this poverty fighting organization.
The US was the leader of the free world.
I love this question, and I tell you, and honestly,
money from the big corporations, then and only then will people trust you. Then and only then will the people be energized to step out of their houses and break the disengagement, get out the vote, and put the ballot in the box.
And you know what I was doing before I ran for governor?
What?
I was running a poverty-fighting nonprofit.
Great.
That
That's what I was
answer
doing.
his question at all.
Right. That was my job.
Props to you.
Poverty fighting.
He says props to you. Good to this guy, man. Like
we were going to get done.
That nigga
That
is
we actually had a
wild.
track record to show that we were going to get it done. And so when I talked
Poverty
about
fighting
things like we were
nonprofit.
going to actually make sure we're giving the middle class a tax cut and actually asking wealthy Marylanders to pay more, which we've done in our time, that if we said it, we actually meant it. And so I do think that when it comes to making sure that people are empowered,
When it would have been going out to the street and who knows?
so they changed the policy.
Of course.
They changed a policy that helped to save your life.
Yes.
Policy. That's my only point. The
Policy
fact that
controlled by
we do need
billionaires.
Advocacy. We do need humanitarian work. We do need
This
you
guy's
and everybody
sick,
else
man.
doing what they're doing on the ground to make people's lives better. But here's the thing. If we do not fix the systems that are in place that are intentionally hurting people and that are keeping people in places of pain, then all the humanitarian work that we are doing individually, we will just simply find ourselves cleaning up the debris that comes from broken policies. That's what I was doing before I ran for governor, is I was running a poverty fighting organization. But I found myself thinking to myself, like, we are doing so much to focus on food and education and housing. But if I continue having to battle bad policies, then I'm never going to be able to save as many people as I hope to save. We've got to end this practice of bad policies. AB 12 helped to save you. That was policy. And so we need to do all the other work.
So listen, there was this Asian young person. I think she just got out of college and she was working for Wes. And she was over. So when we was talking about like, I developed the survey questions, and then we were now talking about how much we're going to pay the participants. And she was like asking, oh, we can just give them a gift card at $25 at McDonald's or something like that. And I was like, and I said it was a small group this time. I said like they know these people can answer the question of what caused poverty better than y'all can. And they like that something has happened to them, and this corporation benefit for something happened to them. That same corporation takes foundation money and paid to y'all motherfuckers to go ask them what just happened to them. You're getting, and she got red, like she got red and felt some type of way. But I know they don't like me because after that little contract, it was just annoying because again I was trying to get Derek and Sandy to come in, and I think they'd end up doing The Color of Money Baltimore, where even Wes will know that he said bad policy. It is a bad policy to even think about financial literacy or trying to solve poverty without actually knowing what poverty is. I mean, like you can't even begin to correct the situation because you're not even addressing the root cause of the situation.
Bro, and then there's the obvious, like, okay, first of all, if this is true, and I trust Chidi Maka, which is hilarious, it's probably true. This nigga was running poverty orgs with Peter Thiel. So if that's who was running, that sounds about right. Because to me, all of that comes off to me as like when Obama was saying I was a community organizer. So that's what that was the entire energy I kept getting from.
That's why they call him Obama 2.0.
Poverty org. What I also find insidious about this, and I'm having like Vietnam flashbacks from grad school, is there is a certain allure to policy that works for certain folks who are like professionals or in that consulting class or aiming to be in that class that you're talking about, Geechee, because it's so appealing to be like, yeah, it's not about individual feelings. It's not even about like politics in that way. It's about policy, and policy is what done it. And Amber, you can speak as the policy analyst, but the entire thing about the policies is they are written and created by interests, by people with power. So I had a lot of folks who fall into that, and they're like, I just want a bigger lever. I've been doing all this on the groundwork, and I need to figure out what really does it in this policy. And we got it with the Constitution thing earlier. Who wrote the damn policy? Why are they writing the policy? Like none of this ever gets to that. It always just becomes a victim blaming thing because then people don't know the system. Sorry.
No, I'm saying I don't know because I don't know about this either. Like if Peter, I don't know if Peter Thiel he has his own foundation, so I don't remember Peter Thiel being connected to Robinhood Foundation. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. I don't know about
maybe yeah. Regardless, so let me again. If that is true too, it doesn't really change the main point, which is like this obsession with policy is just a way to victim blame. Essentially, it's a way to be like, y'all poor folks just don't know how this system.
You just don't understand how this actually works. Yeah. Also, I just want to answer this question real quick, Lord. Someone was asking, Amber, were you referring to Malcolm X's speech entitled "The Ballot of the Bullet" or a particular book? I was talking about the speech. There was a lot of people in the classes that I'm teaching who had never heard that speech. And I also think our conversation today has been a really good example of the same reaction they had because they read the speech and they agreed with the speech. And they were like, well, why aren't we seeing anything happen? I was like, because you niggas don't want to do a revolution. Y'all don't want to take the extra mile, take the extra step. Y'all worried about other shit. It's too much. I'm a dim establishment type of nigga. I'm not a revolutionary or activist type of shit going on. And until all of y'all be like, actually, we do need a revolution, then nothing is going to happen. Nothing's going to change. We all have to make a conscious choice to want something different. And then they was like, oh, I was like, yeah, bitch. But yeah.
I just wish we had a lot of case studies because there's so many like this.
Yeah.
In Orlando, we put $58 million into these homeless organizations. There's a homeless trust in Miami as well. No actual. This is like the thing. It's just it's a time waster, and the Dems are really, really good at that compared to the Republicans. Like the Dems will have you in 30 different commissions, write 15 different reports to describe a problem you already knew from the beginning. and then not go anywhere. And then they'll put a bunch of money into a bunch of people who are going to get paid trying to solve the problem instead of actually solving the problem. So it's a similar thing with the homeless trust.
Now I will defend them a little tiny bit. And I will say a lot of times all they can get past is a commission. And so a lot of times they will pass a bill to start a commission, and they use the like research from that to do like publicity campaigns to actually pass the real bill. Or they'll pass a bill about doing a report or doing some kind of research, and funding the research. And then they take their research and they are able to, but it does require, to me, it does require people who are committed to the full step of actually making the real bill happen. I think a lot of times they do get stuck in the commission thing and they just do that. But I have seen that, especially here in Tennessee and other like southern states, they get them to commit first to this commission or this researcher's report. And then organizers who are good organizers are able to push them to actually pass the bill. That was how we got a lot of the maternal health bills passed here. It was also how we got like doulas being covered by TennCare. Started with them doing a commission first, then paying for the research around Black maternal health and doulas, and then using that research, TennCare and the insurance agencies and stuff supported adding doula care to TennCare. And that's how we got the bill passed. Because they make you jump through a million fucking hoops because we're not in the majority. And so you have to be able to get white people and these super racist Republicans on board with even just doing that one little step.
Right.
And then a lot of times after they do that one step and then they go into the commission or hear the report, then they're like, oh, okay, this is a good idea. But they make us jump through all these hoops. And of course, Dems are going to jump through the hoops because they want some of the bills to pass. But some of these places do be with the shit. And I would not act like all of them are doing the right thing. A lot of them will pass the commissions and use that and say, see, we pass all these bills around this, this, and this. But if you're a good organizer or have good organizers where you are, they're able to push them to make sure they still answer to the real bill that we wanted passed. And I've seen that happen a lot here in Mississippi, in Georgia, especially in Maryland. Actually, in Maryland, they did that a few times before he was the governor and while he's been governor. So I think that there is opportunity there, but it does require consistency and sustained organizing, which is really the biggest issue I see.
I have my experience that is, I align, I agree. And I have my own traumatic experience organizing with New York about what's different from that, right? So I do think that's possible, especially when in certain common sense things that on their face, they can't reject if there's enough organizers there pushing it, dedicated to it, making sure they're on their ass and getting through like maternal health to some degree. I think when we get into the unpopular, and that means in the right-wing circles, things, we always talk about imperialism. That's when, and I know you can observe this, that kind of stuff tends to fall apart. So with commissions on reparations, for example, that's when some places they went from the commission stage to the policy stage. And like in Evanston, Illinois, I believe they got something. And then there was a right-wing whole think tank that went in and sued them for it. So there are other barriers that happen after that.
We got pretty far with ours too. We got an actual, not just the research, but we actually got the money allocated to like when they finished the research, there was already money set aside to pay for the things they said that reparations should go to. But they keep tripping about the money part. Like now they got the money sitting there, but then they want to trip about how they want to assign and allocate. That's the biggest issue we're having.
And so to that point, I've also seen reparations cases where they ask for what we actually know, which is way closer to how much they actually would have to pay us if we were to get real reparations for the labor. And that shit, like it stayed in commission, they had their recommendations and it just sat there. I know there's HR 40, I know they were trying to do it in Oklahoma, I know they tried to do it in California. And there's some places where when you actually talk about reparations proportionate to what we deserve, is just dead in the water. The example I was talking about with New York was similar, where it's a commission. There are a bunch of recommendations about education, about segregation in New York City. They took the ones, this is what liberals do, that were safer. And they're like, yeah, we'll put the money behind those and blah, blah, blah. And they said you won. But the main ask was about getting that school resource officers out of the schools, about defunding the NYPD in these places. And all of those asks got completely ignored. And they sat my man in a commission for like a year talking about this. He came in saying, police fuck up my schools. He left saying police fuck up my schools, and you wasted a year of my life. And that's another thing I think needs to be discussed with like these policy things. You can write all the best policy in the world, right? I think it's an amazing policy that you shouldn't be able to trade city funds for Israel's bonds, but the city did that shit anyway. And so that's also where I get at with these kinds of discussions. Imperialism doesn't care how good the policy is that you write at the end of the day.
So Amber, you said, so two things earlier. You said something about like the cultural nationalists or the African-centered people. They don't know basic things about political stuff. And but even before I was adopted and kicked out of the conscious community, I was energy organizing in Eastern Kentucky. But when I got into the conscious community, I did realize a lot of them really didn't study, right? So for instance, the conscious community Bible is the blueprint for Black power. In the blueprint for Black power, there's a chapter that most people don't deal with is policy formation. Because when Amos talk about power, it's one thing about policy organizing and then policy formation. Because if you talk about any revolution or gun or whatever, you got to have the fucking ability to govern. If you can't govern, once you pick up the gun, then what you going to do after that? And so Malcolm not only met Nkrumah, but studied Nkrumah. And Nkrumah will study other folks to know that even when it said the ballot or the bullet, there's a way that you have to use the ballot. You don't just, like, so people who say the ballot or the bullet, you don't just like, oh, well, the ballot means you vote, and if you don't vote, then you shoot. Like, no, it's like you have to have a strategy with the ballot, and you have to use it. You got to use it for what is the thermometer. That's what it's used for, so that you can know when you can use
people ready to shoot.
How you use the gun, how many people you got shooting, when they gonna shoot, where they gonna shoot. Like, and so if you can't do that, you can't shoot and whatever, you can't govern. Like, all these things have to happen simultaneously. So that's why I like when Nip said the ballot, the streets are both, because it's like there's not now again winning policies or getting non-reformist reforms. One should even know that you should know the language of non-reformist reform in the first place if you're organizer, because there are tactical policies you need to win, but ultimately you about to pull people into a class struggle or something where people gonna die or whatever. And so I just think, like,
I agree.
I'm curious, even the people today, like the conscious community and somebody else birth a generation that you would describe today, if you think about like the left in the US. Like I think when I had conversations around policy, I guess I don't know, even when we're doing with this cooperative, I don't think people understand how important it is to be able to articulate a policy and because you want to shape the way in which we engage with each other. So you develop policies, right? And I just think people are like almost anti developing policies because essentially those are systems of accountability. Now you have to be, just like you want the politician to be accountable to his base, now your ass got to be accountable to your crew, your organization, whatever. So I think the conscious community and many others, like they suffer with this conversation around policy. And if they ever talk about it, it'll be like the policies that are already on the table, which as one of the Jubilee people was saying, is like none of these people represent anything that I believe in. So why would I vote either one of them?
I think that's the biggest to me, especially as an abolitionist. And like when I was thinking about like abolition as a goal, I think that's the biggest missed opportunity that we have, is that people get really drawn into the like election stuff, like around voting for people versus the policy thing. Because even with people in office that I do not fuck with, we have still passed policies. We passed one of the most incremental and largest voting rights restoration bills this past session that's taken us almost 6 years to pass, but it will allow over 1 million disenfranchised voters to vote now in Tennessee, because Tennessee was the only state that would not allow you to restore your voter rights if you had back child support. So if you owe child support because you were in jail, you're in prison, so you're obviously not paying your fucking child support, you could not apply to have your rights restored, even if you were paying the child support now, but you still had a balance. Or if you owe restitution or court costs and fees and you were paying it, but you were behind, you could not apply to have your rights restored, which was impacting over 1 million people, right? So then we were able to pass a bill that said if you were making payments, even if you had back child support or you were behind on your costs, your fines and fees, you were making payments, you can apply to have your rights restored. That's a whole separate group of people who are disenfranchised that can now get their rights restored and vote. But that was a policy win that we got that took us almost 6 years and never would have happened. And we were only focused on just talking about the people who were in office that sucked, right? Like we only were like, oh, we're in a supermajority, we can't do anything. No, we can. We have to be able to lobby. And somebody in the chat said earlier about how we should talk about how much money it takes to pass bills like here. And that we should talk about it because it takes a lot of money. It took a lot of lobbying, a lot of us paying people to come up to the Capitol, like all this extra shit we had to do to get that one bill passed. But it's worth it because now people who are disenfranchised can vote. So I do agree. I think that we don't talk about the policy enough. I think that we don't focus on it as much as we should, which is why I focus on it so much, because I think the biggest issue with voter apathy and like people feeling disempowered is that they don't see any policy that reflects their needs. And we've been able to pass policy, even with the type of legislature we have currently. I think that people are being like, okay, there are things we can do. There are policies we can change. And it shows them, and the people you elected ain't doing that shit.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to do this. I'm a regular nigga in Memphis, changing policy. The people you elected not doing it. So what does that tell you? Stop voting for them motherfuckers. Yeah. And then they were like, oh yeah, we should stop voting for them. That's what really, to me, churns people's brain to get them to vote. Not the thing that he was doing on Jubilee. What really gets people engaged is them seeing this person is not serving my needs. They have the power to, they're choosing not to, and I need to do something different.
Amber, everything you said, I want to co-sign. It's also why I had such a response to people when they kept talking about Kamala Harris and Kamala Harris and Kamala Harris. And I'm like, policies. What policies? What policies do you want? What do you actually want done? Same in Florida. There were all sorts of things about the governor's election and this and that. And people are asking, like, who are you going to vote for at that executive level? And I'm like, nobody. But I will vote for policies. I will vote for abortion access, just to reveal to you again that in I think 2006, with 51%, Republicans made it so that you need a supermajority to get amendments passed. So to heighten the contradictions of the system, I have absolutely no problem talking about policy, because that is what people are looking for. I agree. And Amber, what you said is, Geechee's other co-host, when he's on his other show, abandoning us, is when I talked to Diallo about it.
Abandoning
us.
No, he's leaving us.
This way. I love it. Actually, I can't wait for episode.
He with his mama abandoning us.
Can't wait for episode 100. No, he's actually back home. We're the new guys.
No, I'm so, before you play that video, I just want to post Buka's comment, because he said I'm not wrong, but also he talked about like the work that he's doing in Orlando around air quality, and they have to do a whole study to prove that we already know about the area, just so they'll take us seriously. Agreed. And every step is designed to make you quit.
Yeah.
Literally. The main thing I talk about when we start organizing around an issue or a campaign, I tell people this is going to take a lot of time, and every step that you're going to go through shows you how inaccessible government is, and it's designed to make you not address the issue. And you have to push through that to still make it happen. The mental health policy that we just got passed in Memphis took me almost a year and a half. If I had stopped after last year and been like, these motherfuckers just don't want to do this, then we would never have accessible 911 calls that allow you to ask for mental health and reroute you to a mental health practitioner and not the police. But that took me a very long time to do. And when I tell people how long something takes, they'd be like so shocked. And I was like, yeah, and imagine if I gave up. Because the policies that we're passing literally will save people's lives if we're willing to push through how long it takes us, how much work it is, because it's worth it. And I think that's the main thing I want to get across, is that campaigns have to be sustained, just like our brother Amilcar Cabral and Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer, who sustained organizing for years to get small wins. We have to be able to do the same exact thing.
Yeah. And that's my approach as well. So that's what I was saying. I know that Diallo's point is about sound policy very often, and which one is going to give you the sound policy, and we don't disagree there. The point is, to Amber's point, I'm more about how do you force the people in position right now to either expose themselves as not willing to do what you're asking for, and that is not related to party, right? Democrats, Republicans, a lot of them will not do what's being asked. So at the end of the day, what is the policy or policies you're pushing for? How are you informing your community about that? And how are you mobilizing your community and organizing your community to get those things? I think that's the approach we have to take, not lesser evil voting and that kind of thing. So thanks, Amber. I appreciate that.
So Amber, the people who are naming or building the analysis of the sheepdogging that the DSA will doing, and the sheepdogging that Black Aesthetics do, which Brandon and Wes is doing in Baltimore and Maryland area, they don't have the capacity. We don't have the capacity to build alternatives, so we can sit back in the bleachers and be like, "Yep, that's sheepdogging," because we don't really we don't have. But in Baltimore, I saw all of this, coming over the past years. Like I remember, again, not only working with Robin Hood Foundation to do something, but they kept bringing Wes's book all over Baltimore, like the other side, and when he wins this,
I didn't like that. I was like, why I keep talking about this nigga book? I don't care.
That book was horrible, but I'm sorry. Anyway, but while Brandon was also on the scene, city council doing his whatever. So now these two Black men, who one time Brandon, there's a brother who does barbecues, and he goes to the city hall in Annapolis, and he sometimes brings toilets, and he does like political theater type things. His name's Shorty, and when Brandon was like, pull your mask up, Shorty, people thought he was like talking in the Baltimore accent, but he was literally talking to Shorty. But like that video went viral, and it's like now he got the cruddy, Brandon got the cruddy, and he got the Baltimore lingo, and him and Wes has lowered the violence, like they lowered crime and whatever, like so they're like the darlings at this point. And now,
mind you, it wasn't the governor who lowered the violence, and the governor be taking credit for Brandon and the community's work. I don't like that.
It wasn't Brandon work either, but let's another conversation. Ain't none of them did it. None of that's.
It definitely wasn't the governor.
It wasn't the governor. Yeah.
Definitely wasn't Brandon, but anyway, so now Brandon is talking to this guy. He's a funny guy too. He's supposedly an older journalist in Baltimore. And they about to, this other guy who's a developer who also be all around Baltimore has gotten his contract, and this is them kind of talking about that. Oh,
and I want to congratulate you. For years it's been empty, and you have done something, and I want to congratulate you. I'm Black Wall Street.
Yes, sir.
We have a melanated man developing the harbor.
It's an important thing, and I think that you're just right. I know people had a lot to say, but we have to remember that thing sat falling down on itself for decades, and no one were able to do anything. We were able to get into court and get into receivership, and I want people to hear this loud and clearly. This isn't like it was when Schaefer gave it to the Rouse Company. Dave Bramble was the only person to put in for it in court and was awarded by a judge, and he paid $3 million for it. And that's the way we should operate. It's just a blessing that someone from West Baltimore who understands all of Baltimore, who develops things across this country, is now doing it for us. And he just happens to look like you and me. What better way can we have it?
One last question.
So again, I don't know, sometimes these things, I remember when Sister Pugh was running around and inviting all us to the meetings and hearing the organizers and the community people voice, and then Healthy Holly happened, and she went down for selling books or faking selling books. So I don't know. Brandon is trying to respond to some of the accusations that his biggest donor has gotten his contract, and they're like, how the hell he get it? That's your homeboy? And Brandon's like, I ain't did like Schaefer them boys. Like he was the only person bid. But this dude is pretty much gonna be the landlord for the city for quite some time until I think 2055, and they're they got multiple contracts of building certain things, including as they're gonna redevelop something in the harbor, and he's like the first black contract.
Cool. Black landlords, baby.
Black landlords. Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
And the deal is worth like $80 million or whatever. And so he's about to build his company is about to build a new building, and he don't have to put no equity in it because the city is doing it all. And he's gonna hold it for I don't know 50 so many years, right? I think in 2055, and then the city gonna get it back. They take it back. So he can make his money off of it and collecting rents. And he can name his price on the rents too. So he got a
yeah, I mean, he's a capitalist, right? So he's not going to do this if he's not getting paid. It's not, the whole point is, I think this transitions us into our last story, that capitalists exist to make profit. Like, it's not a mystery here. So there's no sort of altruism in it. You're just supposed to be like, hey, there's a black guy. He's doing it now. He might not do it as shady as some of the white capitalists do, but he's still going to make bankroll. Like, what are we celebrating?
63 million in rent.
Yeah, man.
On top of the 16 million up front to occupy Bramble office building without putting any of his own capital.
Yeah. So he didn't even, yeah, man. This is
150 pages of lease agreements around rent contracts and rent schedules pertaining to Reservoir Square, Bramble's townhouse and apartment project between Bolton Hill and Reservoir Hill neighborhood. That's why I used to stay in Reservoir Hill. Yeah, the city is not only gifting upfront money for the building, it's also paying above market rent to occupy it for many decades. Yeah, so yeah, that's
he's getting paid by the state. Real capitalist. That's interesting.
Look at the little capitalists behind, like that's Wes and that's Brandon. And
it looks sketchy. He kind of escaped the sketchiness of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this becomes the argument, right? About the black bourgeoisie. They'll be like, well, would you rather a white person do this? And it's like the worst consolation prize ever. So that sucks. It makes sense. It's pretty common, I would say.
I haven't read where he's putting up the money, but it says he don't have to put up any of his money. That all that money is coming from. Remember, they got 16 million in public funds underwritten for construction, and then you already have the 60 million that he's going to get from rent. So they're gonna so Moed, one of the departments, they're gonna be in his office, and he get to charge Moed how much he want, but it's gonna be a minimum about 63 million for the period that it's gonna be in there. Remember, until 2055. So that's that revenue and the upfront 60 million. That's $80 million. Why would he have to put up his money? I mean, again, I don't know if you know another situation, but if you can get guaranteed rent and 16 million up front to equal 80, what money you need to put? You can put 7 buildings up if you want. I mean, I don't know.
And shout out Launder and Black Rage to Black Rasul. Notably, those areas are down the street from where Freddie Gray uprising jumped off, Penn North. So there you go, right? Every single time. So
Reservoir Hill is close to Penn North, but in the harbor is not. So the stuff they're doing in the harbor is
something different. Okay, because I was going to say
one thing I was telling Geechee Lord was that, well, you saw it in the chat too, but this same receivership model he's talking about is what they use here in Memphis too, and people are a fan of it. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, people are into it because it does get like buildings that are blighted from being blighted. Like they either demolish them or they make them a thriving business, right? So yeah, we might be pissed off that it's going to somebody with money, and I don't necessarily agree with that either. I do think that cities should put more money into supporting like folks who don't have the necessary means to buy the property. But since it was bid on, you actually can bid on it for any price. We've had buildings like sell for $1 and shit here. So I do think that he wanted to put that much money in to show that he was like serious and like just a flex. Ooh. The guy who bought it for the $3 million.
What bought what?
for the bid on the harbor.
I'm sorry, the harbor thing. Okay, yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, this. So it's two different deals that he had with it. But you're right.
Yeah, for the harbor thing, he didn't have to bid the market price, and he didn't actually because the market price was like 18 million. But you can bid anything. Like we've had buildings here sell for like $15 for $1, like downtown buildings and shit. But they do have to sign long-term. My bad. They got to sign long-term lease agreements that say like, we're gonna stay in this building for so long. We're gonna, cultivate a business here. They'll run it for so long. They do have to do that. But
the city is doing that with him, though. He's the landlord to the city.
Yeah.
We've done none of the backwards way than how they're doing it. And Baltimore has done some other deals backwards too, where like the city's a landlord for that person. This is the first time I've seen them do it this way. But I do think that receivership has been used like as like this tool for blight and stuff. And all these mayors are talking to each other. So the same shit that Brandon is doing is what our mayor Paul Young is doing. It's what Andre Dickens is doing. It's what the lady in Philly is doing, because they're all in like group chats with each other. I literally talked to our mayor about this, like about like, have you heard about this thing that Brandon is doing? Like, why are you doing it this way? Stuff like that. Because sometimes Brandon's admin does stuff better than ours, and I'll push him to do something different and similar to what Brandon is doing. And he'll be like, okay, good idea. But it takes you pushing them. Like, it's not, they're not going to automatically do it. So I would love to see what receivership and the use of receivership could look like when you don't have like the bukus of money, I would like to see it like used as a better model for engaging small businesses who want to do stuff.
When I was in Chicago recently, they have a similar thing where you can get unused land and open lots, and as long as you can maintain them and transform them from blighted, they'll let you have it. So I think that's obviously how we would want ideally these things to go. And then we have situations where what Geechee's describing happens when big capital enters the equation, and it's not about community transformation. It's about turning a profit.
That's what they have here too. As long as you make it unblighted and you pay the taxes, and usually the taxes isn't that much. And if you can't pay the taxes, you can fill out a form to like get it waived too. But they do the same thing here. And I mean, I have found that it does work, but you have to be able to revamp a building and, clean up a property.
So small business, and that's the wrong direction too. All small business is selling more of the Horatio Alger myth to Black folks. That we going like your little small business could maintain capitalism, and then now you can play more fair capitalism. We don't want no money to the small business either. We want the people to the workers who already build all the wealth. They that's where the money go. That's where the money should reside. Give it straight to the people. So, and that's why it's important. Even when you start talking to your cab driver, socialism don't give shit free. There's a provided, like the workers pay for it.
Right.
There's a cost, right? So you go to Cuba, you go to hospital, they got all the costs for the services right on the damn window, on the door. So that there is a cost, but the way in which the economy is planned is centered around the workers and the people, as opposed to the silly buckers.
Buckers.
But I know I actually do have to go a little earlier today, but I know our thumbnail. I know there's
it's 9. We got to go too.
Story. Yeah. No, I know, because we sometimes do overtime. We're a little over. There's one last story. It's our thumbnail for the day. Some light work for our conversation. Also, just I think I had a comment. No, Leah, I was completely joking. Geechee is perfectly fine. He does his duties on Friday, and then he does EYL. There's no tension at all. It's actually great that they're back. So this is the Jay-Z.
I told. Never mind. I ain't gonna say that joke.
You've been calling it a retirement home over there. I know you.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like
you get some young folks here on this side. But all right, so this is Jay-Z freestyle. I think I've seen a little bit about this. I don't know. I've been following it this week. I've been a little out of it, but let me see. Jay-Z. I feel like this is going to be the most predictable like capitalist response ever. But let's
wait. You talking about his in the Yankee Stadium
Yeah, so he had a big show. I have seen some people go to it, unfortunately.
Yeah, my cousin's been up there. Hell, I think was I up there? I think I was leaving up from up.
I'm screaming.
I went to one Jay-Z show. It was a gift. It was a birthday gift for the tickets, and it was when he was doing that fake I went platinum by partnering with Sprint or some shit to force you to buy his ticket. You pay your phone bill, and and that's how he gets you to buy his ticket. So it was something like that. I did enjoy it.
I worked a Jay-Z show with Jay-Z and R. Kelly, Best of Both Worlds, when I was in radio. But I must admit, that's when I was still a recovering fan. And it was in Greensboro because I worked for 102 Jams. On the tour bus, it was Channel 5 or whatever, Channel 13, I can't remember the channel. And they had this tour bus. There's a big tour bus speeding through the city, going down Guilford. And it's like calling out all the names. And then boom, the shit busts on the stage. And then they jump off, Myth Bleak jump off. I was like, oh shit. Like, so now I don't know. And R. Kelly was doing his thing too, because the lady next to me was like, whoo, I need a cigarette. I was like, all right, yo.
God.
A cigarette.
No, but they put on a show. I ain't even gonna lie. Best of Both Worlds in Greensboro with Lil Dice.
I'm sure they did. Jigga Kelly, not guilty. I just want to point out, Jay-Z said R. Kelly was innocent.
Hey, man, them niggas is crazy.
I wonder what Blue Ivy thinks about that.
And Myth Bleak is defending his daddy right now, but I swear.
All right. Jay-Z, okay, everyone's talking. Oh my God, it was Jay-Z. It's again just like a billionaire, bro. Nothing but positive press. If you don't like it, you're a hater. Jay-Z had the locks. Oh my God, he's got the locks. When you're a businessman,
made him
cut the locks, and he gets the fur. Oh, is it the fur? Da, da, da. Now he shaves the hair. He loses the weight. Oh, it's old Jay-Z. Black people don't age. I see me, man. This man getting no wrong.
Dame tell him to cut that shit off, man. He said, don't come up there with that shit on.
All right, let's see.
It was a wig, bro.
My bad. Hold on, I gotta refresh. I have the thing on.
It's a lace front.
It's a lace front. Whatever, you got the natural.
I did sell out 3 nights. I sold Yankee Stadium the hell out.
Oh.
He never was on our side though.
I'm a target. Hey, don't miss that target. No exclusive. They only doing what Apple and Walmart did. You shopping at Amazon or you boycott? You posted on Instagram? That's Meta, boy. Stop it. Y'all know Google owns YouTube. You picking and choosing and politicking as usual.
Yeah, we are. What you gonna do about it, bitch?
It don't even make sense though.
Even the guy who gave him the horns was kind of like, it's kind of mid. Bro.
No, the horn. Listen,
the horn seemed delayed. Like, I guess.
Like, listen, I don't think y'all get it. When you at these shows, the horns is like at the show when you say everybody clap. That's what the horns do. So the horns actually helped him because they wasn't gonna clap. The horn, it's like they on call and response. When we play the horns, y'all niggas clap, and that's what happens. So,
was there more? Hold on.
They digging deep for narratives. It's embarrassing. They run out of characters, had to bring back up Cap again.
Most niggas not feeling it.
Buddy took a check. I ain't even mad at him. But along with that check, got to sign a non-disparagement. I'm the one they can't control. Y'all better be glad as him.
I'm the one they can't control. Y'all better be glad as him. He messed up. Go back, rewind that. See, he don't even. This is the weakest he ever did in his life.
Oh yeah, you're right. Hold on.
Control. Y'all better be glad as him.
Fucked up. That's Jay-Z. One take over, right?
I'm the one they can't control. You better be glad as him. $500 million back in the community. That's just good math for him. I don't listen to Twitter activists. They type and I laugh at them. There's really no comparison. Y'all check my stats again. I'm bringing folks home to their family. Laws get passed as him. You can like it or not. We don't do no ass kissing. Ex-drug dealer. You might not like the packaging, but my presence is the president. My gift is rapping. Oh shit! They say I sold out. Yeah, I did sell out.
That's
3
the
nights. I sold
freak he ever had in his whole life.
All right. This is
And he gave, and you're right. He gave 500 mil. Where and how? When?
Oh my God.
Because it better not be the T.I. thing. T.I. donated some money to my organization before. So maybe that was Rock Nation. So
yeah, man.
So this is probably the worst freestyle that he has ever done in his whole life. But Amber, Jay-Z is the type of person that if you, as a Democrat or DSA person, go to this rally and y'all do a protest and y'all get arrested, they will bail y'all out. That money will bail you out. And this is enough, in most cases, for people to be complicit or i.e. Say that, well, Jay-Z does good work.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure some people are.
Tamika Mallory was in the bond.
Tamika
Mallory was in the bond. He paid for that too. My bad. Go ahead.
No, it's definitely the excuse he be using. I'm not fucking with it.
Yeah, it's typical stuff though. That's like I'm saying, like the way ChatGPT could write a Trump speech now. Like I feel like ChatGPT.
It's easy. He could write it. They can write a Jay-Z verse too because the shit's so predictable.
They said sell out, but you gotta buy in. Like, bro, it's corny, bro. This shit
sold out.
corny.
Yeah, I did sell out. I sell out Yankee Stadium 3 nights.
Right, like ChatGPT, give me 3 puns about selling out. There we go. Like, come on, man. I mean, he's so. Listen, this isn't even the worst part. He's so cracked to his community. That's what a lot of people start with. Like you started off like,
to his own mother.
To his own mother, yes. But he writes about it and he gets to be all reflective and whatever the fuck. Bro, he sold crypto to his own community as a billionaire. He went to the projects and threw crypto pamphlets at people's doors. Like,
listen, he sold his community too.
He literally was like, y'all come do crypto lessons and we'll give you like gift cards or something.
Have y'all been to Brooklyn lately?
That's nasty shit. Like, I'm not even coming after 20-year-old Jay-Z. I'm coming after 50, going on 60, whatever year old Jay-Z, man. That's where I'm at. You went to the projects and you said, come down. You didn't even go. I know you didn't go. You had your minions go talk to the community center and say, if these kids will come take financial literacy courses, give them a $25 Chipotle gift card or whatever the fuck. That was what you did as a billionaire for your own project. And your project still exists. That is the biggest thing about power. If you are a billionaire and the projects you live in still exist, you do not have power, bro. That's crazy to me. Billions of dollars. Akon at least lies and says he's going to build a city or Wakanda or some shit. Where is Jay-Z's Marcy Wakanda, man? Like it's a lot.
Listen.
A lot of lies.
Jay-Z will convince y'all as a teen, little run boy, he was a motherfucking kingpin in the drug game.
Whatever, man. Yeah, and again, man, that shit is a job. Like, why do people act like trapping is? It's a job.
No, but like what I'm saying is like.
No, I know. It's not romantic.
There's at least one or two niggas who get the, get the lump sum of the cachet. Like that, he had the bottom.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That.
So even people who are self-employed trappers, bro, it's a job. Like you have to, if you're not getting insurance, you're not getting any sort of benefits, you have a car payment, you have rent, you just have to calculate, this is how much, I got to move this many bags, I got to sell this many ounces this week, I got to do this, it's just work. It's self-employed gig economy shit. And the fact that we talk about it like it's something that it's not, like, again, it's the romance of trapping. Like,
and everybody smoke or get high, so.
Right, exactly. And then you got to, damn, how much supply I use.
Yeah, so, now you got to buy black. You got to buy green black.
So I don't want to bring back our legendary posts. This one, the Jay-Z fans were very, very upset when we did our Black Men Build post on Jay-Z. We only focused on capitalist Jay-Z. Again, not 90s Jay-Z, not even record label coming up, shiesty things he did, Jay-Z, just like modern stuff. Where the Epstein bros said that we're happy that Jay-Z's been bought off by the TV ads in the Super Bowl. And that
why y'all acting like we're not in overtime?
Well, Jay-Z sold out Brooklyn for the Nets as a 0.07% owner. Jay-Z owned and 0.07% of the Nets, but he was outspoken face as ownership of the team. So this man who can't be bought was a fucking mascot for rich white people on the Nets. But he just told you can't be bought. So there's just so many receipts to pull on this dude. He destroyed homes in his neighborhood with his 0.07% ownership. He went and destroyed his people's homes. That's what our people who are traders will do for crumbs. He then approved the Nets to a Russian billionaire. That's all that black business. The Nets owner is dining with Mayor Bloomberg, and there's Jay-Z at the table. Seat at the table. He got his seat at the table, y'all. Look at it. Look at this. This is what the seat at the table looks like. 0.07% owner. They're like, go ahead, Jay-Z. They pat him on the shoulder, tell him he's a good boy. There's some more stuff. He then talks about how it's great. You can achieve great things at the Barclays Center. It's our time now. So again, we talked about the black bourgeoisie. He sells it as us. He gets paid. So he does end up selling the stake and making some money. He bought the Knicks for a fraction of a percent. He uses influence to lend credibility. He rewarded with 8 sold-out shows. So when he says, I sold out the stadium 3 times, what did you pay to sell out that stadium, brother? So that's the whole thing. After that, he did this kind of corny shit. He sold Occupy Wall Street shirts by saying Occupy all streets. So I just think that's funny when he talks about internet activists, and I don't do internet activist stuff, but like you did. You actually did a corny like Twitter hashtag.
Very corny.
Right. Like this is very corny.
But he is an internet activist for corporate white people. Like John C. Malone is his daddy. Like Rock Nation, Live Nation. What are we talking about? So he is an activist for them.
Yeah. And this is the Cash pointed out. This is like all lives matter shit. It's corny. Like it truly is. Like you are taking an activist slogan and you're being like, haha, blue lives matter. That type of shit, you know. So very corny there. Yeah, he had more falling out. Surprise, surprise. He talked about he's Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton Jr. Critiqued him. He talked about being in capitalist is the N-word. That was a fun.
Read my Fred Hampton joint.
I ride on the day Fred Hampton died. Real niggas just multiply. Fred Hampton was also killed. He didn't die, but whatever. This is like, again, this is just the Jay-Z greatest hits. This was a big one, though, because he talks about I'm getting people out of jail. And that was a thing I think a lot of people miss on Jay-Z was his reform movement and how fucked up it is and all the issues that happen. I think, Amber, you mentioned this before as well.
I did.
Yeah, because he put an investment with law enforcement, promises an investment in collaboration with law enforcement. The company received $3 million in venture capital. He put money into ankle monitors and shit. So he invests in a promise app to help people pay bail and then gets rich on people getting locked up. But he's saying he's bringing people home. Did the NFL partnership, works with Robert Kraft, you know, very famous sex pest. That's one of the least of the things he does, but Robert Kraft, New England Patriots. What else did he do? Oh, the Meek Mill thing. So Robert Kraft teams with Jay-Z, Meek Mill, and starting criminal justice reform organization, Reform in Name Only, the difficulties of dismantling mass supervision in Pennsylvania. Reform is complicit in punitive changes to bills it endorses, back to Amber, and policy. It excludes community organizers and maintains an alliance with the carceral state under the guise of reform. And again, shout out, Jay-Z talks about Fred Hampton. George Jackson said, if you to say fascism in a word, it would be reform. And so for Jay-Z to name his criminal justice org reform is pretty funny. I'm sure he's not aware of that, but yeah, just irony. There's just more. There's been some cases, some research. This was from UPenn on how reform has failed and all of the issues there. So we cite all the statistics. But I thought what was interesting at the end was also why his CEO got a Trump pardon. Why are they at dinner with Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner? So like capitalists, they know how to play both sides. And I think that's the most important thing to remember. Like they care about their business interests. So if they have to cozy up with Nazis, they don't care. They'll be at the table. And if they have to cozy up with the Obamas, they say they prefer that, but who actually knows, right? And the last thing I think we talked about was, oh, they have a Rothschild. as like one of their heads of operations. Again, this Black business. But Kate Rothschild is Roc Nation's head of UK operations and is also part of the family that is represented by none other than Jeffrey Epstein. So I thought all of these things are just very important to talk about Jay-Z as the capitalist. I know a common critique is he's so cracked to his own community, and that's important. I feel like
do no shit like that.
this stiff is like a neck, like you got the Rothschilds running your program. I think that's a step above being a crack dealer. I think we jumped a few steps. So Jay-Z, baby. Any other last minute thoughts?
No, we gotta go. That's the thoughts.
Let's get it.
I put my Jay-Z article in the chat.
Oh, Geechee, you dropped it in the BLM chat too?
Both, all of it.
Yeah, drop it in that one too.
Yeah, I'll drop it in the one. Geechee wrote a
And thank y'all for all the hair compliments. I will be look maxing this and wearing it as long as I possibly can.
I am not my hair. I am not the skin that.
I'm going to drop Geechee's article. I arrived on the day Fred Hampton died in the chat. Y'all should check that out. Closing announcements. Anything y'all got going on? We know it's a real nigga birthday this weekend, Amber.
Yeah.
Anything you got for the people? Any events coming up? Something they should pay attention to?
I don't have anything coming up right now. I'm trying, well, other than the Black August Freedom School, and we're gonna do it all online this year because a lot of people wanted to come who couldn't come in person. So we're gonna do them all online this year, and I'll have the flyer for it for next Friday. Other than that, no, I'm just gonna be turning up for my birthday with my favorite nigga. I'm sure he really appreciates that I call him that.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
And Geechee really, really appreciates it too.
What you got coming up, Geechee? What you got on the radar?
Dedicating this one to my favorite nigga. He's the only nigga in my whole wide roster. Y'all said y'all want to do some R. Kelly. You have given me.
Who's y'all? No, that's not EYL. Don't do that, y'all. I didn't say shit about wanting to do no R. Kelly, brother. Don't do that. Absolutely not.
I'll be
in the chat said link. I'll make sure I share a link, Latif, as soon as the flyer's done.
You are okay.
Oh my god. So funny.
We just the summer program, man. We hitting this intensive. The young people had their assignment. They're gonna do some masturbatory journalistic storytelling final project in Baltimore. So I'm gonna be doing that all weekend. We just had a session last night. So Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, hitting it. And then obviously the semester is about to start, so I have to finish my syllabus and send that in.
Yeah.
I gave you my shirt the other day, Geechee.
Yeah. That's what's
up. Proud of y'all.
What you got going on?
Nothing on my end. Check out our YouTube channel. I always promote it. We had our second bar of our 9 bars. We're doing a series on each of the bars of our political vision, and it was free all political prisoners. So it's an excellent Theory Thursday, joined by Baba Jalil Muntakim. And then we had a mass call where Baba Jalil joined us again with Nathaniel Moore of Freedom Archive. So check it out. Catch the replay. Tap in, yeah, a little bit. We had our Malcolm X in Africa upload. That was an earlier one we did last February, but we put it on the channel now. So if you haven't seen those videos, please give them some views. Baba Jalil deserves more than 77 views. He was giving us amazing information, and of course, ways to plug in. So check out Jericho Movement as well. Check out the Campaign to Free the Pendleton 2, and support our political prisoners. That's all I got. All right. Happy birthday, Amber. As Chairman Fred Hampton used to say, as Jay-Z has never said, and as we say, peace only if you're willing to fight for it, and we will catch you next time.
Black Liberation Media is a collective of Black and African organizers, journalists, academics, and media personalities serving Black and African masses seeking to further grow in their understanding of themselves, their histories, and the African world through entertainment and news. Please continue to like, subscribe, and donate to the channel so we can further serve you and liberate our people. You can also go to blkliberationmedia.org, get some merchandise, and also become a Patreon member and a member from the YouTube. Please do what you can, share, and show your love as we will show ours for you. Black Liberation Media.